Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear us? Welcome to Hellbent Holler Live. Let's go ahead and put up all of our cool little bits and bobs here, and we will get started with the show. It is good to see everybody. Can everybody hear us? All right, cool. All right.
Loud and clear. Good deal.
So I hope everybody is starting to have a good holiday so far. I know that it's been kind of hectic for everybody everywhere. We just got back from dinner. We went out today for my birthday. My birthday's on Wednesday, but we went out today for that. So we just got home from that. All righty. Miller Lite, Mexican food, and Jack Daniels. All right. Nice Stingray 1975. That's cool. All right. Cool. All right. Make sure we got everything going and we will get started.
So yeah, as usual for Monday nights, we don't really have anything on the agenda. Jesse is rocking that ghost shirt.
I do have a ghost shirt on today. Yes. I bought it at the Hot Topic. I went there, Joe and I went there, and it was so funny because I've not been to a Hot Topic since I was, I guess, in my late teens. And we went into the Hot Topic, and I walked in there, and I was just like an old lady walking around, like looking around. I was like, "What is all this anime? Why is there so much anime in here?"
When I used to shop here, yeah,
I was the old lady in there. But I went in there I wanted a ghost shirt, so I got it. Trista Myers says, Jessie looks like she's turning 21. Lucky duck. Yeah, I got a little bourbon going.
Mm-hmm.
But I am turning 35 on Wednesday. But I am celebrating today because I have to work on my birthday. So I do not get my birthday off this year. So we're celebrating today. So we thought we'd do the live stream today and celebrate with you guys.
So yeah, we don't have an agenda or anything planned for this evening, like most Mondays. We did want to talk about the new David Paulides documentary for those, but we'll get to that in a bit. We want to see if anybody else has maybe seen it. What people's thoughts are on.
Yeah, that's definitely on the agenda for today. We want to discuss that because we watched that. If anybody else has anything cool to talk about, we'll definitely throw that in as well. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty informal, fun little live stream today.
But yeah, it's
because I'm so full of oysters and steak that I'm just going to take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
So every year for my birthday, we go to the same place. We go with Frank and Katie and me, Joe, Frank, and Katie. We go to a restaurant near here, and I always get potato skins, 2 dozen raw oysters, prime rib, collard greens, and then usually I'll get a dessert, but I didn't get a dessert today. So
already a few people. Hey, Hennessy, we're doing well. Love David Paulides, but he's so dry. He is so dry.
He's a very serious man.
He's a very serious man. And he is. All right. So there are like a few people that we literally follow everything that they do. And then there's other people that we might be familiar with their work. But I always say that we got into this. You talk to people and they're like, I'm a cryptozoologist. And then they just proceed to tell you everything about the 4 horsemen and this and this and this. And that's cool and that's great. But we didn't get into this to study other people who study this. We got into this to try to learn about the phenomenon. So we don't really, we have a limited amount of time throughout the day. So we don't really spend a lot of time consuming other like paranormal type media that's put out just because it's a time thing. But we do follow a lot of David Paulides stuff. We think that David Paulides is one of those people that is, he's on to something.
He's got a pretty good handle on what's going on.
He's got a pretty good handle about what's going on.
And he's somebody that actually takes the topic very seriously and does a lot of serious work and whardcore research. And his research is very thorough.
And he's somebody
reliable.
who like lives it. And he is dry. He does have a dry kind of delivery, and he does get a bit. I used to think he was overly sensitive with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Until I realized that there's literally people out there ripping him off to such a degree that he'll release a book on one thing, and then a month later, there's 2 or 3 other people releasing the same book, basically.
Yeah.
So I could see where he has gotten, and because he does take the topic very seriously. And if you ever meet him, he's literally just like he is on the radio interviews that you hear, or the podcast, where he just rattles off these facts. You can just tell this guy, it's pretty much consumed him.
He lives it and breathes it for sure.
At one point, we had noticed we had seen him speak, and we had an opportunity to speak to him a little bit. And some of the podcasts that were coming out around that same time had almost seemed like the topic was getting to him a bit. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were kind of like, what we were instantly jumped to, what has he discovered? Because it looked like the whole subject was just starting to really kind of wear at him, that he was obviously
well, he speaks to these people who have lost a member of their family or somebody that they love dearly, and they don't have answers. A lot of times they don't have closure. They've not come to any like real conclusion about what happened. That person's body has never recovered, so they don't have that closure. So they're talking to these families who are just distraught for years and years and years, and that never really goes away.
And it seemed like a lot of the human misery that goes along with this, he takes it very seriously, and he definitely, it seems like that was affecting him for a while. So you could kind of see in his reactions to people sometimes, and I was just going, it looks like because this is not an easy topic to go through, these missing people. This is not as, with Sasquatch, yeah, there's some dark stuff about it, but then you meet people that had, not so bad encounters,
right.
Even with Dogman, even if people report having a very negative encounter with lots of fear and they were very scared and everything like that, most of the time there's no injury involved in it, let alone death or people going missing.
Yeah.
But with his topic is pretty much just all about people found dead or going missing. So, but we had been saying for like a few months now that it seemed like he was really kind of, because, he's famous for not wanting to give a reason for anything.
Yeah, he's never really specific about what he thinks it is. He doesn't really posit a theory or let anybody know.
He drops a lot of hints, though.
He drops a lot of hints.
And that hint, and this is a big hint that he just dropped. So,
yeah. So I don't know if anybody's seen his latest Missing 411 film. It's Missing 411, the UFO Connection. We watched it on Amazon. I think we purchased it. It was like $19.99 to purchase.
It's not Barton Nunley, so
it's not for rent yet, but it is available for purchase. It's a good buy. We're definitely going to watch it again. He directed this one.
It's got a different feel to it.
He did a great job. It was the flow on it, just technically speaking, the flow was really good. The visuals are great. The interviews he conducts are great. He's a master interviewer. As you know, that he worked, he was a police officer and a detective for a long time, but he does great with the interviews and really constructing these stories and connecting these stories and introducing UFOs into the mix in a very serious and frightening way.
Yeah, but and we'll get a little bit deeper into it right now. I just wanted to see if anybody had a chance to watch it. We did, as you know, that we've been kind of our own individual experiences and the research we've been doing has kind of been leading us off in a direction we didn't originally plan on going into. And it seems like a lot of the stuff he is talking about matches up with some of our theories about what we deal with, almost like an interdimensional type of phenomenon. I always go, I think these creatures are some of them are flesh and blood. I just don't think they're here all the time. They're not here living in the forests, breeding in the forests, sleeping in the forests. I think they're physical. I mean, they're definitely physical.
But they're coming in and out of what we would consider our reality, our plane of existence.
And I don't think they're arriving here in rockets. And it seems like it's intelligently controlled. And there's just a lot of secondary evidence that goes along that kind of backs that theory up. But it's obvious that he is headed in that same theory. And we already had a feeling on that just from, he does drop some breadcrumbs in his books and just the conversation he and Ron Moorhead had publicly, where you could tell that, what Ron Moorhead thinks, as far as like an interdimensional
Well, he wrote the book, The Quantum Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
So
He ties like quantum theory into
he
it.
definitely believes in an interdimensional theory.
Things are coming into this dimension from elsewhere. And you could just tell he and Ron Moorhead were just lockstep. So we'll talk about that in a bit. I do want to grab Stephen Taylor's comment here real quick. What do you think about aliens needing the elk? Yeah, that was that was one of those. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Our big thing is that I don't want to. I mean, if that's the report, I mean, that's a pattern, obviously. The pattern doesn't seem like it makes any sense to us. I thought that the parallel that he drew to chronic wasting disease was.
I didn't get that.
But at the same token, like we always say, these things are alien, and they're not alien as in from another planet. They're alien meaning they may be so different from us with intentions and a thought process that we just can't comprehend.
I think my problem with the chronic wasting disease part is he didn't connect that to anything. He just talked about it.
He just talked about, well, I think that he saw that there was in these cases happened after chronic wasting disease had spread into there. We'll get back to it in a bit. So, excuse me. I had put this a second ago, but James Barker said that empathy fatigue is a real thing. Yeah, and it definitely, you could just tell for a while. It seemed like it was really kind of
wearing on him.
And I thought it was maybe because he had come up to some new revelation or something. I just think it was just the weight of everything coming up, just starting to.
Yeah, and like somebody else mentioned earlier, he lost his son recently.
Yeah.
And so he had to deal with that. That's a lot to deal with too. I'm surprised he actually came out with another documentary, but I guess, it helps to throw yourself into your work during times of distress. But I thought it was very good. We'll definitely watch it again. We bought it on Amazon. It was definitely worth, it's also great work. It's worth supporting independent creators and independent filmmakers. So it was definitely worth what we paid for it. It was like $19.99 and we bought it and we're definitely going to watch it again. Yeah,
we'll have to watch it again to kind of let it soak in. Stingray 1975 said that metal door sound really freaks me out. I'm assuming he's talking about the Tom Messick case from Missing 411, The Hunted.
Yeah, that was the second film that he did.
Second film that he did. And we talk about that on here quite a bit. I was already kind of fixated upon these recurring metal sounds just because I was seeing that from Bigfoot researchers. Bigfoot researchers were constantly, the one person reported a sound that they heard in the woods and then other people were picking up on it. And they all started, for some reason, they were talking about metallic doors slamming shut in the woods when there were no vehicles around or anything like that. So that's been going on for a few years. That was already kind of piquing my interest. And then the Tom Messick case was attached into that. And then Martin Grove's story came out where he talked about hearing not one, but two sounds like that. So yeah, that is one of the things that I think that I don't know if you'll be able to figure out what it is, what's causing those noises. But I think that when you hear a noise like that, or you hear somebody report a noise like that, you can already kind of file the case in a certain category.
Right.
Whether it's something that's, we've heard everything from like subterranean hatches that open up from like the pieces of the forest floor that are disguised, that are doors leading down to subterranean tunnels, to interdimensional
traps.
Yeah. So, well, that's what they said in the Tom Messick case. They said that it sounded like a trap being shut, like almost like a big metallic trap just slamming shut. So,
yeah. So today's not my birthday, but we went out for my birthday today. My birthday's Wednesday, but I have to work on my birthday. So somebody mentioned something about that.
Kaiju Ninja, I don't see why Bigfoot or Dogman wouldn't be capable of taking people for whatever reasons. Yeah, exactly. And why I always take it. I mean, like I said, I don't see anything pleasant with the phenomenon. I don't really see, just because you didn't incur any harm during a sighting or an encounter didn't mean the possibility wasn't there. Either these things are, if they're just animals, well, then we're in the food chain.
Yeah.
They're obviously predators. If they're not animals, and if there's an intelligence behind them, like we think there is, then obviously they're up to some sort of nefarious. Obviously, they want to stay hidden, and they
obviously have like ulterior motives.
Yeah, exactly, that we may not understand. So, all right.
Seems in the chat that David Pilates is a little polarizing.
So David Pilates is polarizing, and I
He's
don't
a
agree with
polarizing
everything that he
figure.
does. And I know too that sometimes cases that he puts in, there'll be sometimes resolution to those cases. And I think that, you know what, if you wanted to give him a critique, could he maybe address that sometimes? Possibly so. You know what I'm saying? At the same token, I just, like I said, I think that his the benefits from his research far outweighs any negatives that go along with it.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
also understand that people don't like him. But who in this community is 100% adored or respected at this point? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
So
That's true. It's a polarizing subject, you
yeah.
know. That's what that is. Angel Martin says, I need to know what hiking spot outside the desert is even a mile from a body of water. That's correct too. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that. We were watching the documentary last night, and I was like, because he's like, it fits the pattern. It's
Yeah.
near a body of water. I'm like, oh, it's always near a body of water. It's always near like a river, a stream, or a lake. But yeah. I mean, you could poke holes into anything, but overall, it was really good. It was really good. It was really well done. There's not a lot of people doing like really good documentaries right now about this subject. You've got people from Small Town Monsters that do a great job when it comes to presenting this in a
Yeah, as far as like the
documentary.
media that goes along with it, there's people
Yeah.
doing serious research, but as far as people that have that production of like
That present
entertaining
it
media
in,
and stuff like
in a
that,
good way. That just beat Small Town Monsters, and that documentary was pretty good.
so
David Hunt says, "Hi Joe, did you watch the stuff I sent you on Instagram message about the Jinn and the UFO stuff?"
I have not, because my Instagram won't work. So I'm rarely on Instagram or Facebook. I'm just not on there a lot. But last 2 times I've tried to get on Instagram, it's not loading for me. So I don't know if I need to get rid of the app and try to get back in, but I'll try to see if I can get back into it and take a look at it. All right. Well, David
Stephen
Pilates is,
Tichenel, he's very polarizing.
so.
Stephen Tichenel says, Joe and Jesse, what do you think about the Philadelphia experiment?
I don't know. That is one of those things that I just don't know. I mean, I'm familiar with all the lore of it. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
Like the USS Eldridge. And I don't know. It's honestly, it's something like that seems more possible to me now than it did maybe 10 years ago. Before, I just thought it was one of those things that it's just it's one of those, interesting kind of like little fables that somebody kind of came out with, and it just gained a lot of traction. Now I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think at this point you can file a lot of those things like that under plausible, when before you would think, my God, there's no way, this is just some sort of fantastical yarn that somebody has spun. But at this point, you can file a lot of these things that used to be considered that way into the realm of like possible now. It's just with all the strange stuff we've seen and experienced, it's hard to say that something is completely impossible.
Yeah, I try not to rule anything out completely nowadays. But it seems like that happened in what, like 42, 43, something like that, 19. And for those of you who don't know, that there was supposedly an experiment with the USS Eldridge in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, and they were testing. I've heard a couple of different variations of it. They were testing something to try to, one of them, I seem to remember they were trying to defeat radar, but I don't think the Axis powers had radar in 43.
So is the Philadelphia experiment where they said that they tried to like teleport it or take
it what happened is
and then like there was like arms hanging out of
people
the ship?
were fused. What happened is that the ship basically phased out of like reality, and then came back. And people are like, have gone crazy. People are fused in, like literally fused into like the bulkhead of the ship and the walls and the deck and everything. And there were people that then the story kind of expands. It works into time travel. There's parallels to the Montauk Project that was going on. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of times with this stuff that it's almost like I view the Kennedy assassination, that I think that after Kennedy was assassinated, that maybe the powers that be started putting out fake theories out there to muddy the waters,
sort of like red herrings.
Yeah, to kind of like throw people off. And I think that might have happened with the Philadelphia experiment, that something happened, and then People were like, let's just start a bunch of rumors to go along with this so that when you take the story as a whole, it sounds so outlandish that nobody's going to believe it at this
Yeah.
point. So
Christopher Levin says, I look at all this through a biblical filter. The spiritual can be both physical and spiritual manifestations.
yeah, I don't even think you need a biblical filter.
No,
to do
not.
that,
I
so.
don't even think you have to specifically say it's a biblical filter. I think that these things can phase in and out of a physical and a spiritual realm.
I think that
absolutely
they
believe
can
that.
be spiritual and then take maybe a physical manifestation. Or and again, I think that when you look into it, I think that,
I mean, obviously, there's a physical component because there are people that encounter these things.
oh yeah, they make marks on the environment. People
They
go
make
missing.
marks on the
People are injured.
environment.
People are unfortunately
And if it
lose their
bleeds, you can
lives.
kill it.
So, but I think that how do I want to? I think that there's more than one thing going on. And like I was talking to somebody online who's a Bigfoot researcher. I think that there might very well be a good chance that there is a flesh and blood relic hominid in a very maybe in the Pacific Northwest or up in Canada, in the extreme northern area, that has a breeding population, and they may have special abilities or whatever. But that doesn't explain when people see it in suburban Georgia. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that's the case. I don't think there's a breeding population in the mountains where we're at.
I don't think so either. That would a breeding population would be huge.
So, but I think that there is a chance, especially when you add in like the subterranean aspects of it, there is a chance that there are things here that are, lack of a better term, like ultra terrestrials, or things that share this planet with us that we've just never discovered for whatever reason. And being subterranean is one of them. But I do think that there's also things that describing the way people have witnessed these things that are interdimensional. You know what I'm saying? That come in from somewhere else. And you know what? I'm not a physicist. I don't know if you want to sit here and go that they have come in. Maybe it's Ron Moorhead talks about their vibrational frequencies coming in from just another dimension, like a parallel reality, and they're able to phase in and out briefly. Invisibility. I don't freaking know. I don't know. We talked about that shadow biosphere, the possibility that life, that there is a whole biosphere of life that has developed on this earth and is on this earth that we just can't detect for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they usually use that to talk about things on a very small level, molecular life. But instead, there might very well be larger organisms that are here on that. But I think that you can't rule out that a lot of this stuff has got a spiritual aspect to it for whatever reason. So
I'll look it through. We're behind on comments right now. I'm trying to keep
that's
up
fine.
with that. So William Kennedy's here. William
Kennedy. Hey,
you'll be happy to know
we got a really cool Christmas present that we were gonna pop in, but since you're here,
yes,
we got a friend of ours got a cold steel rondelle dagger like you carry on your backpack. I don't know if you have the longer one or the shorter one, but this thing is absolutely brutal.
It is pretty awesome. It is. We got it out of the package and got all the packaging grease. What is that called? You said
it's called Cosmoline.
Cosmoline,
so, yeah, it's like,
yes.
But
that is a brutal dagger. It's got a really cool sheath and everything.
Yeah,
that was a Christmas present this year.
Rondelle dagger, for those of you who aren't like medieval nerds, rondelle daggers they're triangular shaped blades, so it's not flat like a regular knife blade like you would think of. And they were used when pretty much when armor had hit its high mark, when armor had pretty much outstripped the ability of like regular handheld weapons to injure the person wearing it. So you've got like a sword or whatever, and you and the other guy that are armored up are just battering on each other. Well, if you get the guy down or you start to grapple, you'd pull out a rondelle dagger. You'd use it to go for the weak spots in the armor, usually in the groin, armpits, around the base of the helmet and everything. But it's made to punch through chainmail, where you can't have plate armor. So it's basically a big triangular shaped needle, which is it's brutal. But William carries one on his backpack, and our friend heard us talking about it with him on a live stream and got us one. So it is pretty awesome.
It's brutal.
Jesse will probably post some photos of it online.
Yeah, somewhere. I will. Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, when you watch and read about these missing 411 cases, does it worry you both at all when you're out there? Yes, it does. We were talking about that last time we were watching this documentary, that we saw that orb or whatever that
UFO,
thing,
that light,
whatever
that
we
portal,
saw
whatever we saw.
last week when we saw that was just completely out of the realm of anything we've ever dealt with before.
Now, again, we've seen spook lights, we've seen weird lights, we've
But
seen
nothing that large, that bright, and that close,
and possibly with things moving
surrounding
around
it.
it.
So that's got us weirded out pretty badly. But we try to take precautions as much as we can. We call it our missing 411 rules. We both go out there armed. We both carry guns. We carry a personal locator beacon. We go out together. We ever since that video, what was that video that we did?
Hunter becomes the hunted,
Hunter
where we
becomes the
separated
hunted.
for a while,
Yes,
and
where
we
you
caught eyes coming up behind
he
you.
left me in the circle where the occult activity was taking place. He left me in that circle and left me there as bait, and he hiked off a bit, and then we had those eyes come behind me. That was the last time we separated.
Yeah.
So we've decided not to separate at all anymore because we feel like we're going to be better off if we don't separate, because that point of separation is, it seems, where people go missing when it comes to this. So we try to adhere to those rules as much as we can, but we have had serious conversations about, do you think that this is what's going to eventually take both of us out? You know?
I mean, because even out, I mean, at night when we're like moving around, I mean, we're trying to film. One's filming, one's usually looking through a thermal imager, but obviously when we're moving, we both have to be looking ahead and to our sides a little bit. I constantly check our back trail, but we don't have any illusions that if these things are out there, obviously these things have an ability to stay camouflaged or hidden, or some of the cases sounds like things just kind of come out and grab you and then they're gone. So we take whatever precautions we have, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's been on our minds a lot lately. That has really been on our minds a lot lately. So much so that I've been trying to like think about adapting our approach to some of these areas, but I just don't know how we could do it. We're not going to say stationary and just try to like film around us and take instrument readings, because that just never really seems to work. It seems like we get the most activity when we're kinetic, when we're actually moving through the woods, set up somewhere, move around for a little bit, hike silently for a while, hike making noise for a while. Let's double back. Let's leave a recorder here, when we're just out kind of trying to not necessarily be unpredictable, but try like a couple of different.
We talk about that a lot, that we like to vary our approach, that we try experiments, we try different ways of moving through the woods. We don't have a set way of how we do things, because if you vary your approach, you're going to get maybe different results by doing that. So that's why we go out and we do these experiments, and we try to be stationary sometimes, and other times we walk around and make noise. Sometimes we go all white light, sometimes we go all red light, but we try to kind of mix it up just to see what gets a stir out of the area around us. Take Two Wheels says, I feel Jesse and you are getting closer to a close contact with the Dogman. You seem to be accepted, or are getting more accepted.
I don't know if we're
I
accepted.
don't like that.
I don't know if we're accepted or not. I mean,
I think that we've discussed this before, but I think the more you open yourself up to the phenomenon, and the more you try to interface with the phenomenon, or go head to head with the phenomenon, the more it notices you, the more that it shows itself to you, and that you become a beacon for it, and that it's looking for you at that point. It seems like the more we go out into the woods, the stranger things are getting, and we're getting. And here's another thing too, is like, we've been going out and we get nothing. We'll have times where we go out and we hike around for hours and hours and hours and nothing happens. But when we do get activity, it seems like the activity is starting to get very, very strange.
Yeah.
And I understand that you and I are in a very, very strange place in our research and mentally right now. And I think that
we're going in different directions that we previously dismissed.
Yes, and I think that opening ourselves up to that is maybe drawing some of that really strange stuff to us as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about that the other day when I think we talked about it when we were on Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom, which if you guys haven't seen, that's the first podcast, interview show, whatever you want to call it, that Jesse and I have done together. I usually don't do anything other than this show. So, but we were talking about it, and that I don't know if it's because we're becoming more open to it, or if it's just because we're the only people in those woods at night, week after week after week, with the equipment that we have.
Yeah.
Maybe that activity is just going on whether we're there or not, and there's just nobody else in that area to see it. I mean, there's legends of stuff going on there as far back as, like Native Americans before Europeans settled this area. So I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's, I don't know. We've caught some weird stuff up there lately, that audio and then now this
Definitely.
light that we've caught. So, hold on 1 second. David Hunt, what's your opinion on Sean David Morton? I don't really know much about Sean David Morton. I know that he's like a remote viewer. He was into UFOs. I think he called himself like America's prophet. And then I think they threw him in federal prison for something, but I don't know what exactly. I might be something that I know he's been around for a long time. If I remember correctly, Sean David Morton used to do appearances on the old Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell when he was on there. So
Wendy Dagan says, "When's your next boots on the ground? Spring, maybe?" We're going out. We're going out. We've been going out, and we have a video that should be coming up soon because we got some interesting stuff. We talked about that possible portal that we've been talking about. We've got footage of that. I'm working on that video right now, and hopefully I'll get that video out to you guys. But we've been going out in the meantime. We've been going out, and every time we go out, we take all of our equipment with us and we film. So if anything comes about, there's more videos will come from that. But yeah, we're not holding off, and we're actually going to be out on Christmas and everything.
We'll be out Christmas Eve actually that night, because Christmas Eve is generally considered to have a lot of paranormal connotations with it. I mean, Christmas Eve used to be much more associated with the supernatural, like Christmas Eve ghost stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we'll actually be out in the woods.
And it is going to be cold.
Christmas
I'm hoping
Eve,
we get a little snow. That's what I'm hoping for. Because I like being out in the woods when it snows. It's really, really fun. But yeah, we've been going out. We are boots on the ground. When we're not at work or here working on stuff for this, we are in the woods. So we are out there.
Cryptid Castleberg, have y'all ever looked into the Sum of Sand murders and the theory of multiple shooters connected to a satanic cult? No, I have not, and I've never heard of that. I'm not big on serial killer lore. That's more your thing. Have you ever heard about a satanic cult?
Was that suggesting that maybe the murders were a act of a ritual, part of a working or something like that? I don't know. You could let us know about that. I haven't looked much into that. I think the only thing I wasn't really like a Son of Sam person. I really loved that movie Summer of Sam with John Leguizamo. That was really good. But other than that, no, I'm not really too up on the Son of Sam theories. Stephen Taylor says, "I've never listened to the group Ghost. Are they good? Is it death metal? It's like Kiss.
It's like Kiss. It's
like ABBA.
Tongue in cheek. We got it. We were listening to it because when we were doing the all the research on Jack Parsons and then Aleister Crowley and all that some of his music off his latest albums has to do with Aleister Crowley and all of that. I thought it was all serious at first, and then I just realized it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek parody type thing. So and a lot of it was I was going, gosh, even then I still feel a little uncomfortable. And then somebody was like, well, you watch The Exorcist. The Exorcist is just it's stating information. It's not suggesting that people should be possessed by the devil or whatever. So but yeah, that's Ghost. It's catchy. So
a lot of earworms there. Accepted by Dogman. Yes.
Cryptid Response has this. Speaking of Pilates, has there been any results from the peer research paper on the DNA? I haven't heard anything recent with it, and at this point, I think that that whole thing is so. I don't know if it's too tainted. If you think Pilates is polarizing, that's polarizing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that I think has polarized it is the fact that, I mean, we've looked into trying to get stuff tested before, and it's expensive, man. You know what I'm saying? It's expensive. It's you just don't want to be sending stuff off willy-nilly to get it done.
To the lab.
Yeah, to the lab. You've got to find a lab that'll do it and then pay for it and have arranged the chain of custody and everything. But I think that Melba Ketchum just got too into it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's just, if you watch the interviews, it was something struck me very similar with Jeff Meldrum. is that Jeff Meldrum, I saw an interview with him recently, and he's wearing like a big shiny like Bigfoot necklace, this big metallic Bigfoot, like
Yeah.
Flavor Flav or something like that. This big metallic Bigfoot around his neck. And
Meld, meld.
but at that point, even if you believe that there's evidence pointing to Sasquatch out there, you don't look like an impartial observer at that point. You know what I'm saying? You look like somebody else who's just into Bigfoot and wants it to be real.
Yeah.
You know,
and almost a caricature.
And I think that's what hit Melba Ketchum as well. That so I haven't heard anything new about it.
Just gotten so committed to wanting Bigfoot to be real and it be everything Bigfoot.
I don't think, I mean, there's a lot of people in the community that talk about how we need to be going after DNA. We need to be going after eDNA. That's the key. And I'm just like, how's that the key? We've probably gotten DNA before, even if you kick the Ketchum DNA study out and the samples that were turned over to her, there's probably been biological samples that have been DNA tested that might legitimately be the real thing, but they don't know what it is, because if they took like,
they don't have comparative
they don't have comparative DNA. There's nothing in GenBank, which is the big bank of all the genetic codes of everything they put in there. There's nothing in GenBank to suggest.
Yeah.
So they're either going to go, it doesn't match up to anything, it was a corrupted sample, or it's going to go, hey, there's some human DNA in there. It was tainted, you know, there was contamination on it. Somebody, regardless of what this is, a person has leaked their own DNA onto it. So I don't know if DNA, I don't think literally anything short of a body or a big piece of a body of any of these things is going to prove anything to anybody. And that's even if you can get that out to the light of day. So
we're looking for a foot here. We just want a foot. DCR 44 says, you're both super capable in the woods, but it might be good to have a third person just to watch your immediate surroundings when you guys are way into viewing through your various cameras, etc. So we've discussed doing that. We've had a third person come out with us before. It's just, he and I have a system when we're in the woods. We've been together for a long time and we work very well together, and we can interact without really speaking to each other pretty well and communicate pretty well. And we trust each other. We have a system down. I trust him. Another thing, like we always say, we go out armed. We both have 10mm Glocks in our chest rigs when we go out. We're a little nervous about bringing a third person into the woods armed with us that we don't fully trust with our lives. So, you know, I know that he's not going to like haul off and like get excited and shoot me, and vice versa. I'm not gonna do
or
the
like
same.
and it's weird because we did this hardcore for like a few years, and I drew my sidearm once, and I've drawn like a few times over the past year.
Yeah, the past year has been just real crazy.
So that's one thing we've got to worry about: somebody that we could trust with firearms around us.
And that's just a basic safety issue.
The other thing too is that there are people in our area that are, we know that there's some like Bigfoot researchers in our general area, you know, within like an hour or two of us. I'm sure there's some ghost hunters and stuff like that, but we've got a real weird approach to all this. We're not really dismissive of almost anything at this point.
Yeah, you're looking at a large, so if you look at like the subset of people that would go out, you know, the number gets smaller as closer to you get to how we approach things. Like if you take the subset of people who go out, which is not a big group of people that are like nearby us. Okay, this is a smaller group. B, not going to tell us that we're absolutely crazy because of our approach or our opinion on things. The subset gets smaller. So now we're down to a really small subset. Now let's think about somebody who's physically capable of going out into the woods, carrying the equipment we carry along with us, and who hike for as much as we hike. I mean, what did we do? Like almost 20 miles the other day.
Like 14 miles one day, and then we did about 7 the next.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do that. So that gets the group a lot smaller. So, and then somebody who's comfortable with firearms. And so I think we've kind of backed ourselves into a strange little corner to where we're stuck just working with each other.
I don't know if you included any of our videos, but I mean, they're almost every other night investigation we're on. I'll go at one point, man, we need more people.
Yeah.
You know, we either need more people because we have the instrumentation, we just can't use all of it at the same time. Excuse me. We're limited in what we can carry because whatever equipment we carry, we still have to carry the basics of like first aid, food, water, flashlights, you know, extra layers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to carry even before you get to the equipment that we want to utilize. Even then, we can really only utilize maybe one or two pieces at a time, because one of us is usually filming. One of us is running a thermal. So a couple extra set of hands would come in handy.
Yeah.
But I just don't see where that's a realistic thing right now for us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But who knows? We might run across the right person eventually. Barton had.
We'll take applications.
Yeah, exactly. Barton not only had a good thing, no one can sufficiently explain the existence of humanoids without resorting to some form of spiritualism. That's right. There may be a purely physical entity of some sort that's maybe subterranean. You know what I'm saying? But even then, when they're up here, why are they not being filmed more or caught more? Or it seems like there's just some sort of like unidentifiable like element to a lot of this stuff, that the best way to describe it is some sort of like spiritual, supernatural stuff, you know. Christians will look at it through a Christian lens. People of other faiths will look at it through their lens. You know what I'm saying? You know, we have a friend who's Native American and it looks at everything through like the lens of his own personal folklore.
Yeah.
And it explains a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? You know, people of a Christian persuasion will look at it and they'll talk about Genesis 6 and the Nephilim and hybrids and everything like that. And
but at this point, anybody's guess is as good as
but at the same token, when you get right down to it, a lot of this stuff is pretty much the same stuff that's just explained with different terms.
Labels.
Yeah, exactly. So
James Barker says, have you ever left tripwires, flare, noisemaker, other on your back trail?
No.
Nope.
No, I've actually thought about doing that before, but
all I see happening is if we did that and then something happens where we have to get out of there very quickly,
up, we're going to hit the tripwire.
Then we're the ones who who hit it, you know?
And B, the other thing is that if you do this stuff, if you're really honest with yourself and you, regardless of what sort of activity it's going on, people will ask us, how do you know it's people not out there just messing with you? I don't think it is. The chances of stuff like that happening are extremely small.
Yeah.
Like for some of this stuff, I'd go, okay, so there are people that are either hiking in 60 miles on foot, or somebody dropped them off on this location a day ahead of time and then took the vehicles out, not knowing whether we're going to come there or not. And then they have basically bivouacked down. They haven't left any trail. They're moving around at night with military grade night vision. They're not leaving any like tracks.
This is a lot of investment and like in terms of like money and time.
Mess with a couple of schlubs with like a little YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But the other thing I've always think about too is that what if you leave something like that and then heaven forbid there is somebody else out there in the woods, and then they happen to hit it. And that was one of the things that went through my head, is that what if somebody else hits this, whether they're messing with us or heaven forbid somebody else is out there in the woods at night, maybe, you know, for whatever reason, and they hit it and there's like an injury of some sort.
Or if we get injured and we have to use our
personal locator
beacon, and then somebody has to come and try to help us, and then we've booby trapped the woods at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I always think about, is that there have been people that have had activity that we have had to, is within a driving distance of us. It's within our area of operations, that we have had to pass on because of the volatility of the people involved. And if Cryptid Response is on, he remembers the lady that was that he and I had both spoken to, that was having Dogman activity around her house, so much so that she thought it was trying to get in. Something reached through a window and tried to grab her uncle, if I remember correctly. But her whole family was like loaded for bear, and we were going to go up there, but I'm just going, I don't know if I want to be up there, like, because these people are almost to the point of shooting at shadows. You know what I'm saying? And she was in a rural but residential area. There were houses around there. And I was worried about, what are we going to do when they shoot the neighbor's dog or the neighbor's kid and the cops are involved? And they're like, well, what are you two guys doing here? Well, you know, she says she has a dog man. What's that? All of a sudden, we're on the front page of the paper. Dogman hunter's involved in, you know, triple homicide.
Child slaying.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things you always have to kind of be aware of, is that if there are other people involved.
Yeah.
So.
Goshawk says, I watched your episode with Carlito. It was good, just like here. Yeah. So Carlito Castro with Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom. We did an interview with him this week. Was it Friday?
Yeah, it was Friday.
Friday. Yeah. So we did a live stream with him on Friday. That's on his channel. If you guys want to go check that out after this or tomorrow or whenever. We did a good little interview with him. We did switch places. So prepare yourself for that cultural shock. We switched places for that. But we did do a nice little interview with him. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I met Carlito. Carlito commented on one of our videos like a year or so ago, and then reached out to me that night. And we just started like messaging back and forth, and we just struck up like a friendship with each other. And I don't usually do podcast appearances. That's usually her thing. You know, she's like the public ambassador from Hellbent Holler. But I don't usually do it. But he wanted us to come on the show, and it's difficult because we keep opposite schedules throughout the week. And we just happened to have like a Friday evening clear, and we set it up with him and had a great time on there with him talking. And it's great too, because generally I don't do a lot of those like interviews with people, but he and I have been talking for a while. So we're friends. So we were both very relaxed going on there, and we're pretty much just felt like we could talk about anything we wanted to. And he was going to kind of give us a platform for it. So great guy.
KO says the activity going on at your home is classic hitchhiker effect stuff. There's a lot of people who say that looking into these things mean they looked into you.
It has been quiet around our house lately.
It's been very quiet.
Been very quiet.
We did a hardcore cleansing after that last incident. So hopefully we kind of pushed it off to the side. Like when we moved to our new place, we are going to set it up to where it's going to have like almost like supernatural and spiritual barriers. I have a lot of things that I'm going to set up for that place just so we can come into our home and hopefully not have to have so much stuff going on.
But there hasn't been anything. I mean, the things that got us was we actually saw things move on their own, like not out of the corner of our eye, but looking right at it. And one time it moved, and then we were looking at it, and as we were watching it, it did it again right in front of us.
We picked it up and put it back, and then it slid off again.
But it that hasn't happened. I haven't been seeing any weird shadows. We haven't seen those orange lights for like a while.
No.
It just seems like peaceful nowadays for some reason. So I don't know if it'll start back up.
The dreams are weird right now.
Yeah, but that's also, we immerse ourselves in some weird stuff. 24 hours a day. So
Sam Burton says, ironically, I'm more afraid of occultists and other people up to weird stuff than I am about encountering Dogman.
And there's more people talking about that now, which is cool. There's a show on YouTube that somebody had sent us the link to where he had a reverend on, and I guess he did a 3-part series with him. And the guy mentions, the reverend that he had him on mentions us in the first like 5 minutes of it, because the guy they're talking about occult and how that ties in with supernatural, paranormal, and then UFO activity with like entities that are involved. And the guy had mentioned, he goes, hey, Hellbent Holler's come across, what looks like ritualistic activity in the woods on several occasions where they find activity of other stuff. And that's odd for a lot of reasons, man, because you don't know if people are summoning things. So they have some sort of control over some of this stuff.
That's why Matt Keenan follows up with this. What if your paranormal activity is all tied to the cultists opening portals? Should you be worried about the fact that you are exposing them? They may want to come after you.
Well, we think we found where they're camping at now.
We think we found their next camping area, because they moved from the area we were going into heavily.
Because I think
we encountered a couple people with them. They followed us up the trail one day, and we kind of encountered them, and it was a very weird encounter, and then they moved after that. So we think we kind of figured out where they might be now, but it seems like everywhere they go, the weird activity starts to follow them, because we found evidence where we saw that portal thing, UFO portal, UAP, whatever it was, the giant orb thing, where we saw that last week is we found evidence of them camping up there. We found evidence that we know what to look for. of them camping in that area. So
Mhm.
they had been in that area prior to us going in there and checking that out and then seeing whatever we saw.
And then we found
night.
that stick symbol glyph on the hilltop. And
Yeah.
we took we have film of that, and we took some photos of it as well. It didn't look like it had been made the night before. It looked like it had been there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's one of the things that's hard to say, though. I mean, we find evidence of occult activity. We found it in a couple of different spots now. There's occult activity going on in the land between the lakes, like now, like right now. I mean, I don't know about right this minute, but present day that's going on. Corpsewood Manor, the spot in North Georgia, a couple spots we've gone to, Lost Cove up in New York, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also paranormal activity going along with it. I don't want to say cryptid activity because I kind of like, along with Bart Nunley on this, cryptids I think of, and we use that word because I guess it's in the
that's the lexicon.
Yeah, it's the vocabulary, but you know, with cryptids being like undiscovered animals, but we're talking about like entities, you know, Bart Nunley calls them inhumanoids, creatures. And
monsters.
There seems to be they seem to be in the same area, and you don't know, are they being, is one influencing the other? Are these occultists coming into this area because this other activity is going on?
It's like a paranormal chicken and the egg.
Yeah, or is the paranormal activity happening because of the occultists and what they're doing, or are they both separate things entirely and they're both just drawn to the same area for some reason? We don't know. And you don't know. I mean, we've seen like weird occult activity in the woods before and then not had anything else happen. And then we've also had weird stuff happen in the woods and we didn't see occult activity, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. It just means we didn't see it.
Correlation is not necessarily causation on that. So Dead End Yard Haunt tossed us $199
for DNA testing.
For DNA testing. Oh God. William Kennedy suggests we go the first day of winter, longest night possible, ritual night. The winter solstice. That's my birthday. I'm working and he's working.
Yeah, so that will be
but yeah, I have to work that night. I'll be working that night till like probably 4 a.m. So that's a no. So
what is this? No one you know had a comment about, I'm convinced Shelob lives in the woods, so I'm going to stay chill on my couch. That is one thing that giant spiders, we talked about those briefly one night, some giant spider accounts from
and we've decided that's
Louisiana,
a hell no.
And that's just a no for me, man. That's everybody's got a limit where they draw it to, and that's my limit. So cheers to Chow. Said the coolest thing would be to build a tree house, one of those hot spots, and sit there all night long, see if anything happens. The thing you would deal with is if these things are so in tune with their environments, they'd know you're there. We get people all the time that are like, you need to do this and this. And I'm like, I just don't see us sneaking up on any of these things. I see that when we see these things, it's either because they don't care or they allowed themselves to be seen, or I think in very rare cases, we might have caught something off guard, but I think the rest of the time, you know, we're not moving around especially at night, because we don't follow like hiking, like trails or anything like that. We follow like old game trails, old logging roads, and we're just not, you know, we're not moving super stealthily through the woods. It's just, especially in the fall and wintertime when there's like so much leaf fall there. So
Pick Dahlia says, slightly off topic, but we think we're waiting for disclosure. But Werner von Braun warned of a false flag alien invasion. We know government has reverse engineered UFOs and at the very least tweak Dogman. You know, if you think about Ronald Reagan, he gave a couple of speeches where he talked about, you know, the world is in conflict, but what if we had some sort of outside invader? What if we had like an alien threat that would come in? We would all join forces together. We would all come together if we had that common enemy and that common threat. And I think that the false flag alien invasion is one of the last things that's going to be like their last ditch effort to seize control. You can try like mass extinction events. You can try terrorism. You can try, you know, sicknesses and everything like that. And one world governments will try to seize control through the use of those things. I think that the false flag alien invasion is a possibility, but I'm hoping that's like the last ditch effort that they would
Yeah.
go for.
Oh, and lastly, hello. Have you all talked to Stephen Hill about his Dogman experience? I don't know who that is.
No, I don't know who that
I
is.
don't know who that is, unfortunately. I'm assuming he's maybe a Dogman witness or something, but I'm just not familiar with that name. So Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. Hello, how are you? Believe if you're open to it, you'll encounter more ghost, cryptid, or UFO. I always wonder, is it that you're open to it? Are you opening yourself up to it and therefore the activity is increasing? Or are you open to it and you're just not explaining things away to the degree that a lot of people do? Because we see that all the time with people that, especially when they approach it with they're a skeptic and nothing's going to change their mind. Literally anything you put in front of them, they're going to scoff at and it's fake. And then anything they experience, they are going to, even if it seems impossible, they're going to explain it away. So I wonder how much of that is just maybe being open to it. And then on the flip side, you get people that are too open to it. And then everything that happens has a supernatural like origin to it. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of I just think a lot of tree structures are like that. A lot of times, if you didn't see it, place it, and it's just a one-off and you're not seeing a pattern, and even if it looks weird, it's probably natural, but who knows? Maybe it's not. I mean, we weren't there when it was created, but I've seen people like that are just like literally every single thing that happens because they want it to be so true. They want it to be real. So, but I definitely think that if you go in and intent seems to affect it somehow. So.
Yeah. Angel Martin sent us a little angel number, 777.
Hey,
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Angel Martin. So
that's our P.O. box number too. I had to fight for that one.
Damian Kenyon, please be careful. I think Dogman is bad. Yeah, I don't think it's weird because let me finish your comment first. Right now, all people that do paranormal and inhumanoid research are seeing a huge uptick in all kinds of activities. I didn't know that. I know that we're getting more reports. And the frequency and when I say getting more reports, the reports are more complex and they're more involved than they used to be. As far as like Dogman is bad, yeah, I don't think it's weird because it was always pretty much accepted from one of the trademarks of Dogman activity was the feeling of dread or fear or threat that you would get, even if it didn't do anything to you. It was almost like it was projecting that fear to you. And then all of a sudden you just, the YouTube verse kind of got a hold of it. And then the next thing you know is that they're protectors and they're protectors of the forest and they're protecting my home. And it's the Disneyfication of Dogman happened where they are benevolent and they are good and everything like that. No, I don't think
what is that? There was one Facebook group that those people were on and they would just like talk about their clans and their wolfies and stuff.
Yeah,
like
my
that.
wolfies. Yeah, and they lived in their backyard, and I'm doing this and this, and she knew their language, and who knows? Maybe it's true. I don't know. I just don't. I mean, obviously, you're telling people, and you want people to believe you this strange story that you have these dogmen that live on your property, and you call them wolfies, and you have names, and your grandkids play with their kids. And you want people to know this and you want people to believe you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on social media bashing people with the story repeatedly because you want them to believe you. Well, then a great way to make people believe you would be like take some photos or something like that, And it's one thing to go, I saw this thing for a split second. All I was able to get was this blurry photo or no photo at all. But all I saw was for a split second. But when it's to the point of like you're baking cookies for it and it's playing with your grandkids.
Yeah.
That's a pretty drawn out encounter. And it seems like you'd be able to do something, do something. So bring a half-eaten cookie with Dogman DNA on it and get it tested. Send it to the lab.
Of course, we could be just saying what other people say about us. These are the ramblings of a madman.
Ramblings of a madman.
So. Dooster of Cryptids and Critters Paranormal says that he was deer hunting at Fort Campbell several years ago in an area where they had conducted maneuvers the previous week. I hit a tripwire and it sounded like a shotgun went off beside me. And he follows up with, I had to go change my underwear after that. So, yeah, that's something we worry about if we set traps. You don't really want to booby trap the forest. Because more than likely something will happen and we'll end up in that booby trap or somebody that we needed to come out there would end up with that booby trap. I'm kind of going to the end of the chat.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm working my way down.
Joe's working his way through.
Cowboy 5 Rings, how are you? Did you happen to see Dark Waters and DDoS video on spiritual protection from Dogman and Bigfoot? No, we don't really watch a lot of YouTube paranormal and Dogman and Bigfoot stuff, just because we just don't have time for it. I mean, generally when we're looking into the subject, we're looking into like right now we're deep into like rereading like a lot of like John Keel, Jacques Vallée. I'm reading a book right now. I can't remember what the name of the author is, but on extra dimensional encounters. And then we're doing some research right now. I'm actually looking into building a muon detector that, but anyway, so that's the stuff that we look into. So unfortunately we subscribe to a lot of these channels and watch it occasionally, but we're not up to date on it, but I'll have to check that out. There definitely seems to be something about at least with some of these entities that spiritual protection is effective with them.
Yeah.
You know? So
well, I mean, you can rebuke alien encounters with
the name of
invoking
Christ.
the name of Jesus Christ.
There's stories out there about Sasquatch and Dogman.
Yeah,
they have they've invoked the name of Christ and had effects on it. And there are other people. There are Native Americans who have used some of their traditions to deter or get rid of some of these creatures. I just, I'm sure we don't really get much outside of like this continent, let alone this region, but I'm sure there's I know that there are people that have used what would be considered folklore defenses against some of this stuff, and it's worked. So no, I haven't, but I'll have to check that out. So if there's anything like notable about it, please
let us know.
Please let us know.
Kaiju Ninja 1985 says, have you both ever gone camping and had anything happen? So we don't like traditional camp anymore. I think the ship has sailed on our like traditional camping. I don't think we can ever, after doing this for so long, I don't think we're able to ever go back and just go and relax and go camping. Right?
I mean, we could at like a regular like campground or something like that, but solo camping.
But
the only places we go to are like areas that have activity nowadays.
Yeah.
So what we'll usually do is we'll stay up like all night and either then try to get a little bit of sleep during the daytime or yeah. But I mean, as far as like,
but we're out like all night. So
yeah,
so we don't like go to bed early and sleep through the night. And then some of these areas, like the area in North Georgia we go to, we don't want to sleep up there.
Yeah.
Like we have zero desire to sleep up there. We don't want to camp up there. We don't want to go up there and build a fire, roast marshmallows, and then at like 10 o'clock be like, all right, let's hit the hay.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that at all. So because we don't think it's safe to do so. But I think like our days of like traditional regular old camping are
pretty much
gone.
done nowadays, man. So I just that's weird because we used to really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But now if we're in the woods, we're doing this stuff and we're up all night long. So
the cobbler's children go without shoes.
Exactly. So
Cowboy 5 Rings says, folks playing softball with Dogman teenagers having pizza after the game.
And it's possible, but here's the deal is that, again, if you're a rational person, look at it like this. If it was happening to you, and I'm not saying maybe it's happening, but if it was happening to you and you wanted people to believe that story, if you're a rational person, you would have to go, no one's going to believe this. No, there are people that we know that don't believe the stuff that we encounter. And I mean, that's fine. If you haven't encountered it for yourself, I mean, that's great. I mean, but if something like that happened to me, if we were having dogmen in our backyard every night and they were frolicking in the backyard and you were putting baked goods out for them and they're just coming up there and eating them, I'd be like, we can't tell anybody about this because nobody's going to believe this at all. And, unless you had some sort of like photographic evidence. Even then people could kind of like naysay it, but you'd have something.
Or if we took our $10 from James Barker and got the Dogman decapitator that he's now
and just lured him into it.
Yeah.
All right.
Say decapitate the wolfie.
All right.
Done.
So, but
You like that transition there? You like
yeah,
that
there you
little
go. So
connection
thank you,
there?
James Parker. So, but yeah, like I said, but it's obvious that you want people to believe that story, but you would have to take a step back and go, all right, nobody's going to believe this, but if I want them to believe it, what can I do to kind of back this story up? And let's say we tried to do that and we took photos of the dogmen frolicking in our backyards and they were just blurry shapes. I just don't know if I'd tell that story or not, because at that point, it's just you've crossed the realm of like the brief glimpses that we've had, and we've had brief glimpses of stuff, and at least we're able to get something. We don't have smoking gun evidence on anything yet, but we've been able to back it up with like video and audio sometimes.
Of course.
So.
No one says, I'm sorry, man, but granny baking pies for Sasquatch, having tea, and watching The Price is Right together is just too much for me. Yeah.
You know what the best Sasquatch story is?
Oh, God, don't say it's that terrible one from Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I hate
where
that.
The guy went to the old lady's house because she was like basically raising the Sasquatch babies, and he saw the Sasquatch female and he found her very attractive.
He got horny for the girl Sasquatch. Yes.
And he's telling you, and he's just going, I know this sounds weird, but it is what it is, man.
But he's like, he's going into great detail about how sexy this lady Sasquatch is. And we listened to that episode and I was like, please don't ever play that episode again.
Listening to it tonight.
Because I get so just grossed out by how like turned on he is by the Sasquatch. I'm just like, no, I cannot, I can't. Because he's like, and it sounds like Wes is trying to like get away from it and change the subject.
But at the same token, Wes is just sitting there going, this is good radio.
I know, but then this guy's like bringing it back. He's like, I just want to talk a little bit more about the Sasquatch butt, how shapely it was. And you're just like, no. Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Hey, have a nice day. Welcome to the chat. Hello, goodbye. He's stopping in and then he's jetting off. Coin 777. Thank you for the $20.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas. So. That is rad. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
Kaiju Ninja had asked if we'd ever thought about writing a book. I want to do a thing eventually on what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I want to do a thing on, I'd like to put out a small thing. We might just put it on our website about all the information that I've gathered on like infrasound, because there's so much like bad information out there on it. And when I say bad information, not that there's competing theories, because there are, but there's just a lot of like things that people have said offhand that it's been repeated so much that it's taken as fact. And then there's other verifiable information out there for it. And then Jesse was talking about doing something on the LBL as far as talking about like just the history of the LBL.
But more of like with a supernatural band.
Yeah, but like, because there's activity that goes on back out there, but the stuff other than, and I think it's great because Martin's story really opened that up, because most people just associated the LBL with, the 82 massacre, and then Martin came out with his story showing that obviously there's some other stuff going on out there. But she talked about doing that, but that's a big undertaking.
Yeah. We have so much going on right now. Grace W, thank you for the $10. Happy birthday, Jesse. The Sasquatch theory episode creeped me out. I think the diabolical theory. Is that what it is? Diabolical hypothesis.
The diabolical hypothesis. So,
but yes, thank you so much. Really appreciate
that Sasquatch thing. Which Sasquatch theory? Because there's actually a YouTube channel called Sasquatch Theory, I think.
There is.
Yeah, that guy might have been on there too. But A, we appreciate that. But B, if you want to let us know what that Sasquatch theory episode is, please let us know. So. James Parker, back to that thing about taking additional people out to it with us. It'd be difficult to find someone who would have a complementary skill set that would expand it with your field work. Yeah, because we balance each other out pretty well. And having a third person is going to knock that dynamic off a little bit. So
it would take some getting used to. And also, we're all like adult people with jobs and families. And I mean, Joe's my only person in my life, so we don't have children or anything like that, so it's easy for us to kind of schedule things to do this together. But when you throw another adult person into the mix that has maybe a family, a job, other commitments, then you have to kind of worry about their schedule and everything.
And the big thing too is that this gets tense sometimes, man. I mean, if you guys have watched our videos, like I mentioned earlier, for the first few years on this, I drew my sidearm like once. I've drawn a few times in the past like year or so.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty tense things happen, and sometimes that results in us arguing afterwards. And luckily, because, we've been together for a while, we can go from that, have an argument, which she usually doesn't include in the video. Although the next one will probably have us arguing because we're going to include the entire trip out after we saw that orb or light or portal or whatever it was. But we can argue.
I yell at you because you're just,
well, because you nearly fell. And so we can argue and then snap back to it, and there's no hurt feelings. There's no, it doesn't linger. We can get right back onto task.
Yeah, we can argue and then get back to work.
Because so putting somebody else in, they may not be like that. They might,
There's just a whole different dynamic. And again, like we've dealt with each other for 8 or 9 years at this point. So we know how to we have kind of a system for everything.
Coin777 had asked, have you thought about e-bikes? I have thought about it. That's something that we might look into down the road. Now, they'd be of limited use for us in certain areas because, again, a lot of the areas we go through, it's pretty rough. We're following game trails. But it would have some use to us. So that might be something we add to the arsenal down the road. That's something that, because I've seen some people use those and it really lets you cover some ground with more weight than you can on foot. Because that's the other thing too, is some nights we've been going at it hardcore for like 12 hours and then something happens and we're in the mountains, man. So this is a lot of like up and down travel. Something will happen and I'll be like, listen, we can't run at this point. We're exhausted. We've been carrying our packs all day long. We maybe ate on the move. Having an ability to kind of get out of there a little bit quicker would be invaluable. So that might be something we look at down the road. So
do you remember what episode of Sasquatch Chronicles that was?
I can find out real quick.
Katie was asking. And also, no one says, now I'm wondering if I ran across a female Sasquatch, would I check out her can? Oh, God. I hate that episode. Yeah, Katie wants to know what episode that was. Of course, she's going to go listen to that. He just makes me uncomfortable. Like, it just makes me uncomfortable. It's a pretty interesting episode. And then he just derails it. James Barker says, and another new fetish unlocked. All right. Chaos says, you need to read the final event about the Collins Elite and JPAC.
I'm actually halfway through that right now. Yeah, I'm actually through that right now. It's what's been interesting is seeing the. One second, I'm trying to. Anyway, I can't find that Sasquatch episode. I'll keep looking.
That's fine. We'll figure it out.
One of the more interesting things is, all right, so the Collins Elite, that book, Nick Redfern wrote it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had heard about elements in the U.S. government that looked at the UAP phenomenon as if it was demonic in nature. But I had never really heard the term Collins Elite before. That was just one of those things I was going, how have I missed this?
And now we're hearing it everywhere. Every day.
But if you're familiar with Dr. Michael Heiser, who does a lot of stuff, he looks at the Bible through like a supernatural lens. And when he says basically that the stories that you read weren't allegories, they literally happened. So when the Bible says giants, they mean giants. When the Bible says this happened, they literally mean that this happened. So I found some back and forth on a website where Nick Redfern and Michael Heiser were going back and forth. And Michael Heiser said that he had heard from 2 different sources before this book came out about the Collins Elite and had literally heard that name. So one of the things I heard was that Nick Redfern basically made it all up and then people ran with it. But Dr. Michael Heiser had said that he had heard of it twice. Now, if you want to say that he's not believable, that's fine. But there seemed to be some backing up of that story from him and he actually had some issues with the book just because of the sheer tone of the book. So he, even with the issues he had on it, he said that he had heard of that group before from 2 different, very reliable sources. So take that as you will.
It's just weird that, and I don't know if it's because, like when you think about like a blue car or something like that, then you see blue cars everywhere. we started talking about the Collins Elite, and then now we're literally hearing about the Collins Elite every single day. Every single day.
M had asked if y'all ran into booby traps left by others like dope growers. Nah, never. We have been in areas where somebody had told us to watch out for moonshiners one time, told us we were going to get killed. I'd be more worried about like a grow operation or even somebody with like a meth lab back there. But
yeah.
People aren't really moonshining to the
degree that they
if
once
they
were.
A lot of times they're just doing it on their houses or like in their property. They're really not going out into the national forest and hiking back 10 miles into the woods and then moonshining like they used to. But yeah, we've never ran across anything like that. So
we found some moonshining equipment over the past
yeah,
couple
that
of
was
weeks.
Like old. That was like,
but it was really old, really, really old. But we found like huge jugs and parts of stills and pots and stuff like that. Everybody's talking about that Arctic blast that's coming down this coming weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be cold out.
We are going to freeze.
We're going to go out and see what we can get just so. And that's the other good thing too, is going out in like adverse weather conditions. That really limits the possibility that it's other people out there. So sometimes it's difficult to go through, but sometimes that's the best kind of environment to try to work in. So
yeah, you're more likely to run into somebody like in the summertime out in these national forest hikers and everything like that. But you have way fewer people hiking through there when it's 10 degrees. So that helps kind of get the possibility of contamination of evidence out of there.
I'm insanely behind on this chat. So
I know. I'm at the end if you want to kind of go through. We'll kind of go from there.
Freddie Baker had a thing. Why is Bigfoot seen a lot around graveyards? We talked about this on Carlito's show the other night, that Dogman, especially if you look at Dogman, it seems to be, all right, let me back up. If it's a strictly physical animal, if it escaped a lab or it's a mutated wolf, why is it seen around cemeteries, Native American mounds, stuff like that? There's a lot of stuff with like Sasquatch, and then even more so with Dogman around cemeteries like that. There's really good stories. Jesse went into the story that Linda Godfrey had about the Dogman digging in a graveyard. There's video that they think is a Dogman digging in a graveyard. It's like, and if you want to get like really weird with it, that's like a liminal space. That's a space that is crossing over between the living and the dead. They're also seen around old iron bridges for some reason. There's a lot of stories of Dogman that take place during these old iron bridges.
Yeah.
And areas with disturbances in the earth, mining, quarries, caves, places with geological activity. I don't know. I mean, to me, that suggests a supernatural.
It's areas of crossing over liminal spaces, that kind of thing. But it's like a crossing over type of thing. I know that we talked to Aaron Deese from Hey Strangeness. He's writing his Texas Dogman book.
He's actually in the Seth Breedlove movie, The Texas Dogman.
But we contributed to that book a little bit, and we talked about iron bridges in this certain area where there's like a lot of Dogman sightings. But yeah, it's like iron bridges, areas of crossing over cemeteries and stuff like that. Dead End Yard Hunt says dogs like bones. That's a theory.
Jones Said Farm says, you guys need to make a bumper sticker window decal that says Hellbender on board. We actually have, we've got those original Hellbent Holler stickers. That it's just the Hellbent Holler, like the mountain with the eye and just Hellbent Holler on it. And then we had some new die cut stickers that are like the
new logo.
Yeah, the new logo that we have. We have those actually. So you've got a link up on our website, don't you, to order those?
I think in my link tree from my Instagram bio, I have a thing where you can just PayPal us and you can get a sticker.
Yeah.
I could put the PayPal on here if this doesn't mess up while I try to do it. I think it's paypal.me/Hellbent Holler, to be honest with you.
Jay Myers had said that I needed a tranquilizer. I don't know if you mean I need a tranquilizer or I need a tranquilizer gun for these things. I was actually involved in a discussion with that one time as far as like Sasquatch goes. People talking about trying to tranquilize one. We were looking into, just trying to, you can get the gun okay. It's expensive. and it's getting the drugs, the tranquilizing substance is usually a controlled substance. It's getting that, and it is being able to figure out how much they were trying to talk about trying to humanely take a Sasquatch for study. You would have to, um, there's a lot that goes into tranquilizing animals, like the body weight, depends upon, it will obviously it'll determine the amount of and type of tranquilizer that you use and everything like that. But it's just one of those things you always hear about a lot on social media. People are just like, don't kill one. You just need a tranquilizer gun. There's so much involved in that, man. It's not like the movies where you just see the dart hit the neck and then the thing go down. You've got to be very close. They're super expensive. And then you got to try to get the tranquilizer and then figure out how much of it you need to use.
Just walk up to the Dogman and just be like, does this smell like chloroform?
Yeah, exactly. I can't find that Sasquatch Chronicles episode.
I think Katie thinks it's 419.
Here. You handle that and I'll keep looking.
Dress very warm and keep all exposed skin covered. Yes, it's going to be really cold. It is going to be cold, cold, cold. I hope we get a little snow while we're out because I like being in the woods and a little snow comes in.
It is 419. It is Sasquatch Chronicles episode 419. I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it.
Episode 419, Sasquatch Butts. There you
Sasquatch
go.
Butts.
Yeah. Y'all enjoy that. That's a no from me.
We are. James Barker's right. We're just going to end up with like a bunch of people with like weird like cryptozoology kinks, like watching our thing,
Yeah, we did talk about Dogman nipples for a long time.
Yeah, so.
That one episode. Cicada noises, Dogman nipples, Sasquatch butts.
New finish unlocked. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Jay Martin says, the gun a dose to knock down an elephant. And then he says, check with your local wildlife service. They would know. I'm not calling the local wildlife service. And saying,
I need you to give me some weirdo off the internet. Tranquilizers and quantity enough to knock down an elephant. I will be by to pick that up at 3 p.m., sir. Thank you.
Cash or charge.
What are you going to be using it for? I'm going to try to capture a Dogman.
Yeah, pay no mind.
Bag up some tranquilizer for this young man and get him on his way. So,
not today, Saban says. Is it because it's like Nick Saban, right? Saban. It's a joke about Nick Saban. Not today, Saban says. You give your blue car analogy. Have you considered that much of the uptick in sightings, belief, and the experiences have to do with the idea of the ghost in the machine?
Isn't that weird? So, we're actually doing a podcast on that coming up soon. It's probably gonna be our next dark dive.
Yeah, that'll probably be our next dark dive. What we do.
Yeah. So we're actually going to. Look for that. We'll probably have that out over the next couple of weeks. But that is very good timing on that. So.
We might record that on Friday. We'll see. James Barker, getting the dosage right would be so hard. Yeah. Yes, I'm not a veterinarian. And then where are you getting this stuff? A.V. May says, find someone that works at a zoo. They can smuggle it out.
Basically, you're dealing with things that are also used for recreational purposes. So
yeah.
I'm trying to remember the tranquilizer dart gun that we were looking at that we were thinking about.
We could probably have better luck just asking our tweaker neighbors and getting tranquilizers from them,
Let's see what.
Martin Groves up in the house. Where's all the critters?
Here we go. Getting the short range, it's Dan Inject is what it is, and they're about $3,000 just for the base rifle.
Okay.
So that again.
Do they sell? You have the website up. Do they sell the tranquilizers too?
I mean, no. You have to get. That's a controlled substance. You would actually have to get that through. That's not something you could just buy over the counter. You would have to actually get that from a veterinarian.
Otherwise, you would have people just like darting each other, left and right.
Yes, just running around darting each other. Now you would. You would actually. A lot of times when they do that, when they dart an animal.
Fun fact: that's how I got Joe to go on a date with me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I darted him.
But
away.
But yeah, you would actually have to be able to get that from a veterinarian, and it might not be outside the realm of possibility to do it.
You guys
It's
are
just
killing me with this. Jay Myers. Ground beef with tranquilizer.
all right, hold on 1 second.
So basically, okay, now he's looking up how to get animal tranquilizer.
Yeah, because it was.
This is going to be educational.
Yeah, it's again, it's just to pull it up. It's available. You can only get it. You can get like dog Xanax and stuff like that from your vet, but to get injectable, fast acting animal tranquilizers, that's very hard to get. I don't think that.
Hey. It sounded like a voice outside.
Keep talking.
Yeah, check the cameras. I know that we talk about a fantastical subject sometimes, guys, but we have to also have 1 foot in the reality zone of we can't just go and make a call and get elephant tranquilizers and $4,000 air rifles that shoot tranquilizer darts.
I'd love to.
Love to. Believe me.
I would
love
misuse it though. I don't need that power. I don't need that.
Would love every minute of it.
Yeah.
Tracker darts as well. That's another thing. You're talking about we're out of the realm of possibility. Jesus.
Just reading some of this chat.
I know.
Good Lord.
Y'all know it's Christmas, right? Oh, God. Dooster says it's the ATF at your door.
Yeah, no doubt. So
we've had some questionable searches lately. We were I was searching some stuff last
looking on
night.
your internet search, and you're looking up some odd
things.
So
if something happens to us, I need Dooster, come here and delete my search history, please. I was looking up some stuff last night. We were watching Strange Angel, but we were looking up some stuff last night on CE5, and a NSA.gov document popped up talking about contacting aliens. I thought that was pretty weird, but I kept getting these .gov websites when I was looking up weird stuff. It's weird how many disclosure documents have leaked out since that are from the 1960s about stuff like that.
And what's even weirder is
waiting on our 3-letter agency visit number 2 right now.
So what's even weirder is that a lot of that is stopped, and the latest thing that came out, I want to say it came out on Thursday, is they had a release from whatever the new acronym is for the group that's looking into it. I can't remember what they changed the name again to it, but whatever that official government group is, they released a thing basically saying that we don't have any evidence it's extraterrestrial or interdimensional or anything like that. It's not aliens. A lot of it's just airborne trash. And I'm going, you guys have just said that a lot of times you're having highly trained like military pilots, and it's backed up with sensor data, multiple sensors, and now you're saying it's airborne trash. How high is this trash getting up that these fighter pilots are seeing it? And I'm going, this is basically the equivalent of swamp gas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Them
weather
trotting
balloons.
And when they did that, it's so weird because we were doing this deep dive into like the Collins Elite and how a lot of the government didn't want to have anything to do with this because they thought that paying attention to it strengthened it somehow. But I had heard someone speaking recently saying that they thought that the people that were trying to fight against disclosure had been kind of caught off guard with everything that went on. You know what I'm saying? That this outpouring and just how they felt a little outmaneuvered, but that they had regrouped and they were starting to control the narrative again. And I heard that and I'm going, well, gosh, it's right. We haven't really had nothing new has been released as far as like video footage or really nothing from the government. And then just a few days later, that came out.
Yeah.
Talking about airborne garbage, basically, and that they didn't have any. So it's weird. It seems like there's some back and forth going on.
How did the garbage get airborne?
What's exactly?
It's just like cast-offs from like launch.
Well, they claim that
problems?
It's funny because the one that Commander Fravor saw, there are people on Reddit that just argue with him that are just those hardcore debunkers.
Yeah.
Okay. People that are in like the
Professional skeptics.
James Randi, you know, that his group, and they're just these professional skeptics and they're skeptical about everything. But it's just some dude who's maybe only flown coach a couple times in his life is arguing with like the best fighter pilot of his generation, basically saying you're not qualified to tell, you know, what you're seeing in the air, that you saw a children's balloon that just was let go.
Yeah.
So
in the chat, they're talking about Dewey Edwards' latest book, Season of the Critters. Make sure you guys check that out. He put that out not too long ago.
yeah.
Make sure you grab Dewey's latest book. He also wrote a book about the Bell Witch, something wicked. And Dewey has quite a few little books that he has published. Dewey is a prolific young man.
He is, yes, indeed.
The Deuster. So make sure you grab his book and check that out. Martin Grove's book is still available as well. He is in here in the chat. And
Bigfoot Society hopped in. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Hello, Bigfoot Society. Red Wolf is suggesting since we're being outrageous about our capture methods, that we're just going to go tase one of these creatures.
Right, let's just go crazy with it. So
just tase it.
No one you know said the government stated all the UFO stuff is Chinese drones. So at least we know that whatever they are, it's not Chinese drones.
Listen, exactly. I purchased a Chinese drone off of Amazon. That didn't work out very well. That didn't work out well
at all. So, yeah, it's weird. You know, some of them probably are. Some of them, I mean, obviously, some of them are misidentification of mundane things. Some of them are probably advanced drones from like another nation, like an adversary nation that are being used.
There's definitely a possibility of
but
that.
Some of them aren't. But as soon as I saw that airborne garbage, there's airborne trash. And I'm just going, that's the modern equivalent of swamp gas. I'm hearing the swamp gas thing now in real time, that, oh, there's nothing to see here. Just, you know, don't, everything else we told you up until this point, forget about all that. You know, that other guy that was talking before me, just don't worry about that. It's airborne trash. Nothing to see here. Let's just get back to, and that's when I kind of went, all right, something's going on behind the scenes now. They're not running with this narrative anymore. They're not, now they're trying to like backtrack and kind of try to get control of the message a little bit. So.
And they agreed on airborne trash.
Airborne trash was the thing that came out on it. And I'm assuming that's what they meant with like they're claiming that some of them are just like Mylar balloons that have been let go and have somehow gotten up extremely high and moved extremely fast and behaved in ways that are not.
Not today's Sabon says hypersonic drones are definitely a thing.
Yeah,
though.
They are. So
airborne trash. David Hunt says, personally, I'd say that they have already took over because the way the elites and people in control are certainly not making human decisions because they're destroying the planet, killing humans, bad energy.
Much is true.
That much is true.
All right, so we're pretty much caught up with the chat. So, hey, let's talk about that David Paulides movie a little bit and more in depth.
Okay.
So
there's been quite a bit of David Paulides discussion in the chat. So let's open up that can of worms.
That is very polarizing. Yeah, I understand that. And there are things about the UFO connection. In a way, I don't want to discuss it too much in depth because I don't want to like
spoiler.
Don't want to do a spoiler for it. All right, let's say this: that obviously he has always danced around what he thought was the culprit for some of these things. And he has said before that he thinks that there might be more than one phenomena that's going on causing some of these missing people. If you saw his television story that he did, like television thing that he did on History, they basically just went all into portals. It was all portal related. The missing 411, the hunted, when they get to the end of it, he is dealing with the predator phenomenon, you know.
So what do you think? Do you think he is posing that it's all kinds of phenomenon, that all of these phenomenon are related?
I think that he has, if you look at his personal journey, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm just saying what he believes. He went from being very involved with Bigfoot research, going into MUFON, okay,
right,
UFO research,
and then went into
and
Sasquatch.
Then now he is now he's really kind of on this interdimensional type of kick now. That these things are coming here, but they're just not coming here from, you know, lifting off from
another planet and then
flying
coming
through
here.
and coming here. that it's more interdimensional. So it was interesting. I was just surprised to see him bring out a documentary that actually posited a cause for some of this stuff
and being
or the
very
connection.
being very solid about it too, and
Yeah.
really putting it forward that this is what we think is happening to these people, because he's always been very ambiguous with how he talks about it and what he thinks is going on. He won't answer that question very directly.
Anybody who watches it next week, let us know, because there is a scene where there's a lot of buildup. He's going to speak with the sheriff of a local municipality, like a small municipality.
So if you watched the Missing 411, the first one where they talk about Dior Coons, it's the sheriff that is the sheriff of that county where Dior Coons went missing.
And he shows back up to speak to him, and he builds it up quite a bit. And then there's a shot that closes in of David Paulides and the sheriff standing in like a garage
yeah,
together. And the sheriff looks uncomfortable. And David Paulides is basically just like, do you have anything else out? You know, do you have any new information on it? And the sheriff basically just goes,
nope.
Cut. You never see the sheriff again. It's never discussed again. And I'm just going, man, that was like a big buildup for like 2 seconds.
It was like oddly abrupt.
It's like it's that conversation must have gone south real quick for whatever reason. But I just thought it was really weird. I'm going, why even include that? You know, so. All right. A lot of stuff on it, but yeah, like I said, I'd like to discuss it, but I don't want to spoiler. I don't want to spoil it.
Dead in Yard Hunt says Missing 411. Is this a TV show? So it's a film by David Paulides. He's written all the Missing 411 books. This is his third film he's done so far. The first one was, I think, just Missing 411. The second was Missing 411 The Hunted, which I think is available for free on Amazon. And this one is Missing 411 The UFO Connection. And it's available for purchase only, I think, right now on Amazon. But it just came out. It's his latest film. It's actually very good. I think it's probably the best of the three. It was
and it is polarized. And there's things in there that I just kind of went, what? You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we're obviously the target audience for that sort of stuff. People like all of us in the chat and all of us on there. We're the target audience for stuff like that. We're at least open to it. So if people who are open to it are going, huh? You know, the thing with the elk was weird.
The thing with the elk thing was weird.
The
wasting disease thing. I didn't. There was no clear connection made when it came to
chronic wasting, and that's
what
I guess
said,
we
the
should probably
disease,
leave it at that, so we don't ruin it for people.
Yeah.
So then they just go, well, now I'm not going to get it. So. No one you know said, I'm going to believe that a fighter pilot can identify airborne trash. That's up to this latest thing on Thursday, and I think it was Thursday. They have been talking about how the people that have identified this stuff are the most qualified people in the world to identify these things, and that the sensor tech that they've used to capture some of this stuff is not malfunctioning. It's multiple sensors recording the same event in different ways. And so they've really kind of gone above and beyond as far as explaining that. And then now all of a sudden, they're basically insinuating that, yeah, these guys are mistaking. When they say airborne trash, I'm assuming they mean, again, like Mylar balloons that have gotten away. So.
Knowing going back to the Chinese drone thing, the government stated that all UFO stuff is Chinese drones. So at least we know that whatever they are, it's not Chinese drones. Yeah, that's usually a good policy, is whatever they say it is, it's probably not. How dare you disagree?
And it's again,
the overlords.
There's a lot of like debate on it, and I know that's a very polarizing thing for it. Very polarizing on it. But again, I can't think of anybody in this field who's not polarizing. I don't know if there's a single person in here that within their little narrow sliver of the paranormal community is just universally admired and respected and just, but like I said, I mean, he's definitely polarizing. He's actually, it's weird because we mentioned earlier the James Randi Foundation or whatever, the International Skeptics, thing. He's like their like big target nowadays, man. There's like they're just
David Paulides
they're
is?
just fixated on him. So I guess because he's become so high profile that they have
Well, I think that Angel Martin, was it Angel Martin earlier in here? She mentioned that there's a cult of personality that goes along with this.
that's
that,
almost everything out there though, man.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Anybody who's involved in this kind of stuff, that you have people that will definitely go to bat for somebody like David Paulides in a really, really huge way. And I'm a huge fan of his work. I find him very, very credible. Very nice man in person, very nice to talk to, always been a very kind person.
But there are people out there that would say otherwise.
There are
and would
people out
have,
there that would
you
say
know,
otherwise, but I think I think that's good too, because it keeps everybody kind of honest in a way. But there's something equally as bad as somebody who is really hell-bent on somebody being like completely right about everything. There's something equally as bad about somebody who is like they're absolutely wrong about literally everything.
yeah.
I think that to be intellectually honest about a subject, you need to look at it with a grain of salt, but not be so desperate to disprove them and have like a hatred for them that you just completely
Well,
dismiss everything.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, again, in this field, there's not a lot of stuff that's like proven. You know, I mean, you and I have like wildly different opinions on certain things. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I don't know of a single person that I match up with 100% on stuff. You know, and that's not a bad thing. Again, I mean, that's not a bad thing.
No, I think that's a good thing. I think that it's good that you and I disagree on a lot of stuff. I think that that's how we have really good, deep, dynamic conversations. And I think that some of the audience probably sides with me on stuff and sides with you on
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's
But
fine.
then also you and I agree on a metric ton of things. Like
Yeah, exactly.
most things you and I agree on.
Well, here's the deal: is that you have a lot of the people that are just pure flesh and blood. It's an ape. They hate the people that are just pure like woo, for lack of a better term. And I'm just like, why can't you just go, hey, listen, I'm going to approach the phenomenon from a purely flesh and blood thing. You approach it from a pure, let's cover every single base out there. Let's take like a real holistic approach, and literally every single base, let's have somebody approaching it. And maybe one day we'll look back and go, wow, you were right the whole time,
Yeah.
But it doesn't, just because, and it's, you see people get so personally offended by it. And I'm going, how is this person taking this viewpoint having any effect on your own efforts to look into this?
Mhm.
And like I said, it's just, I mean, there are people that we're in regular contact with that look into this sort of stuff that they're about as polar opposite from us in our approaches and our viewpoints as you can possibly be, but they're out there doing the footwork and we trade information back and forth.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So it's not, I don't take offense to it that somebody believes differently than I do. Grace W, debate is good. That's how you get the truth. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, it's
And if you put all the ideas out there, let the best idea win. That's what we've been doing for thousands of years, is debate.
Or just go, hey, in this point, there's no way to prove whether idea A is better than idea B, because we don't have anything proved in this phenomenon yet.
Right.
So let's just, you approach it from column A, I'll approach it from column B, and let's see what we get. You know what I'm saying? Hey, guess what? Excuse me. The phenomenon might not exist entirely in column A. Maybe it's a blend of all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So maybe none of us are right. Maybe none of us are approaching this from the right topic. So, excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm still getting over. We've been fighting illnesses off and on for like a couple of weeks here now. So,
Cowboy Five Rings says, I think certain people hate on Paulides because they know he was a cop. That's probably true. Probably true.
Not today. Simon says, look at the James Webb, the Webb telescope's finding. They're at the point of admitting that the universe isn't expanding at an accelerating rate. Yeah, that throws everything off.
Yes,
I mean,
it
that
does.
throws every.
Yeah.
But again, that's the thing, is that's where we always go to, is that when people tell us that none of this is scientifically possible. We were watching, again, if you want to know where we spend our time at when we're not actually out in the field, it's researching things that might be of use in our own personal efforts to like find stuff. We were looking up a thing on plate tectonics the other night and doing some research on that. And there was a point in time where established science said that continental drift was pseudoscience, that it just didn't happen. And there's one cat out there, and I can't remember what his name was, and he was going, no, the continents are drifting, and it was considered a pseudoscience. And if you believed that, you were basically their version of a science denier. And then lo and behold, a few years later, that's proven true. So just because it may not be possible, something may not be possible to our current understanding of science, but that doesn't mean it's not possible.
Look up the fine structure constant. I don't know what this is, but not today. Saban says, please, I beg you, look up the fine structure constant. We will look this up.
I've looked that up before because as soon as I typed in FI,
It
it
came
came
up.
up as my history, but I don't remember. Is that something we've talked about on a previous podcast and something?
No one said earlier he likes Dave. I don't know where the comment is, but he said he likes Dave, but at the end of the day, he wants to sell you books and movies. And Cowboy Five Rings has a good follow-up to that. He says at the end of the day, I want to sell you my music, songs, beats, tracks, etc. That's how I make a living.
It's here. Well, here's that's a fine line with stuff like that. Obviously, we would love to be able to do this stuff full time. I think a lot of times our efforts are, I mean, it's not think. A lot of times our efforts to look into this stuff it's limited by the amount of time and money we have to spend on it because we work regular jobs. You know what I'm saying? Now, part of the reason we work regular jobs is because you are right to a certain extent that if I have a weekly show that people are subscribed to paying money for, and it's me presenting Sasquatch evidence every week, and that's what you all are paying for, and every week I've got new Sasquatch evidence, what's going to happen that week that I can't find any Sasquatch
that you don't have
evidence?
any Sasquatch evidence?
Am I just going to come out there and like, I'm going to get kicked out of my house? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be able to feed my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a thing, but at the same token, there are a lot of people that do make a living at this that I don't think that, I mean, me on the flip side, is he unbelievable because he charges for his work? So that means that if he gave everything away for free, that would make him believable?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, I think the two are, but at the same token, though, you do have to, anytime that it's somebody's entire livelihood is on the line for it. So I can see both sides of that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, people have given us like super chats and stuff like that on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Does that mean that our word is not good because we've accepted money from people?
I don't think so.
It's so. I don't know.
He said you mentioned it before on a prior live stream, so you have looked.
I did mention that before, and it's something to do with electromagnetic energy. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I looked up. I was looking into this when. Yeah, let me save this up.
Thinking about them cookies, kid.
Yeah.
I started going to Crumble Cookies, and I have a crumble cookie in there. That's my birthday cake. Is my crumble cookie. Did you look up the thing?
I've got it up here.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go into it when we're not on here. So, Jay Myerson, all the land masses around the world, it looks like a big puzzle. Exactly, and it all fit together in one continent. But what I'm saying is that at the time it was almost heresy to say that continental drift occurred, and finally it was proven right that continental drift is occurring.
Cryptid Response had a good follow-up to that, talking about the motivation with like a financial motivation situation. If he did it for free, they would say you can't believe him because he's
a fanatic. It's true. So, where was I at here? I had that. For the continental drift stuff. We were looking that up because we were looking into the Adam and Eve story that came out a few years ago about cataclysmic pole reversal that occurs every 6,500 years and basically wipes out any trace of previous human civilization. That they were estimating there'd been between 10 and 12 human civilizations that had been wiped out. So we were down that little rabbit hole for a while to. All
right. Katie says she'll make me a birthday cake.
Yeah.
Brian Wigfall says, the more you learn in this field, the more you realize you don't know. Yeah, it seems like it's getting weirder and weirder the more we do this. And then it also, at the same time, it
becomes more and more complex.
It becomes more and more complex. And it seems like it was so much easier. So, like a few years ago, when it was like, oh, let's go look for like Bigfoot in the woods. And I think we were talking on Carlito's stream that people were like, you don't look for Bigfoot anymore. And we're like, yeah, we do, sort of. We're kind of getting beyond that in a weird way. And it's way more complex than it has ever been before. And it just gets more and more complex the more we look into this, because we're finding all of these connections with these things. We're finding so many connections between the phenomenon that it's becoming more complex, and there's more there. Everything is just like we've mentioned before, it's a spider web and it goes in every direction, and you're having to follow every thread in every direction.
Well, for me, it's difficult to prove any of these phenomena and like the totality of any of them. It's hard to prove, hey, there is a Sasquatch, hey, there is a Dogman, hey, there are interdimensional entities in certain areas, hey, this stuff is going on. It's hard to prove the entirety of a particular aspect of this whole weird, like, high strangeness thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we've kind of discovered that you might not be able to prove it as a whole, but you might be able to prove small parts of it. That, hey, we're seeing weird lights in this area, and we're also getting weird EMF spikes, and we're also seeing higher elevated.
And you're finding supporting evidence in kind of different arenas.
Evidence. It's just that a lot of the supporting evidence, even though you're looking in smaller slivers of the phenomenon as a whole, the smaller slivers are very complex. I mean, I was sitting around last night trying to figure out how to build like a muon detector, because I'm seeing that some of the people that are really into UAP research are using these specialized muon detectors. They've gone beyond Geiger counters because the muon detectors can give a lot more detailed data on it.
It tells you, so the muon detectors, they tell you exactly what type of radiation.
Yeah, you'll be able to see what type of radiation, and then they use them as long duration instrumentation that they will then basically, if they get a weird radiation spike at a particular time, they'll see how that matches up with solar flares, because that light that we saw on the mountains up there really affected us. I mean, not affected us physically, but affected us mentally. I
don't know. It may have affected us physically. We don't know that yet. Yeah, but, my face was burning like that entire night, like that entire drive home. My face was like burning, and it wasn't wind burn. The wind was not blowing, but my face was burning.
But that's the thing.
It was red, and then, but we don't know if there's any long-term effects to whatever the heck we saw.
But as far as like the complex nature of it, I mean, these are dudes from MIT that are building these things, man. I'm not the stupidest person on the face of the planet, but we'll be able to do it. But it's just you're having to research stuff that you don't generally deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it is extremely complex then. So Jay Meyer said, I had a thing about your opinion on UFO spotted underwater and seen flying out of lakes and oceans. To me, that's one of the things that kind of precludes it from being a normal drone, the transmedium ability of it. That it's able to go from the air and then just not really slow down, but just go into the ocean. And a lot of times I talk about how it goes into the ocean at high speeds and there's no like splash. Mm-hmm. There's no real disturbance of the water. It just looks like it goes underneath it. That's one of those observables that Luis Elizondo always talks about that is really interesting to me, and that would kind of preclude it from being a man-made craft at this point.
Because it doesn't doesn't adhere to our laws of physics, basically. And like when they turn on a dime, like at a 90-degree angle, just like that, you know.
But I will say though that we only know about this from like reading about it online and all that, because we don't investigate around water. We don't do lake monsters. I don't mess with the water. That's like my cutoff point. I grew up in the 70s. Jaws had a giant effect on me. We don't do ocean or lake research at all. I stick with dry land. We don't do anything on water in the slightest.
I grew up by a lake. I love to swim, but I can't get him to go to the lake with me ever.
I don't. That's for somebody else out there with a different skill set than us to investigate those things. So we don't do any sort of water explorations at all. You know, I can never see me with scuba gear on.
You're really intense about not going in the water.
Not going in the water, man.
You're like really into like I'm just not going into the water.
So, Chris W., I'm glad you guys go where the data takes you. Yeah, but sometimes it takes us in directions we didn't expect, and then we're having to play kind of catch up because we're in really unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
And, but I see why people sometimes overly simplify this stuff, um, or take like a very structured view of it because it's easier to deal with when everything's just labeled in a little box and it's easier to understand. There's big monkeys running around the woods.
Yeah,
There's
that would be so simple, wouldn't it?
Is a lot easier to comprehend and kind of digest than than the stuff that we mess around with. The Deucer is back after closing down a portal of his own. So
Is that a euphemism?
All right.
Oh, since we got a little moment here, make sure you guys hit like up there, like the stream for us. We really appreciate that. Make sure you tell your friends about Hellbent Holler. We had a problem with the YouTube for a while. The YouTube. We had a problem there because we said something we shouldn't have said and we got slapped for it and put in the sin bin. But I think we're doing okay now. But a lot of people got unsubscribed from us. So if you guys want to make sure you share this with your friends, we would really appreciate it. And make sure you hit that like button and make sure you check out our other videos if you haven't already. And I hopefully will get that portal video out to you guys soon.
Yeah, and we're only calling it a portal because we're not sure what it
And that's just what we're calling it. That's what we're calling it right now. Possible portal.
Some people are going to look at it and go, well, that's nothing.
Yeah.
The fact that we're going to go out and try to do an experiment this coming weekend and put like a real bright lantern in that same spot and then see what we can pick up from that distance on the camera, because I don't even think we're going to be able to pick hardly anything up.
Probably not. No, but we'll stick it out there and then we'll go to exactly where we were when we filmed that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what it looks like from that distance with a really, really bright lantern.
What we're trying to figure out how to do is try to stabilize some of it, because we're not trying to stabilize the whole image. We're trying to stabilize the dot that's whatever that thing was, because we are moving while we're filming it.
Actually, do you know what else we could do? Since we're going to be up there and it's going to be really freaking cold, I'll go to that exact spot and I'll make a fire. And then you can come and go from that point and you can see what a fire would look like. We'll film that. We'll do a couple experiments with that and see what a lantern would look like versus a fire. And then we'll just kind of experiment with that and see, and we'll show it all side by side. Because I know that once I put that video up, everybody's going to be like, somebody has a campfire out there. Somebody has a lantern out there.
Wasn't a lantern. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I'm not saying it was UFO. I'm not saying it was a portal. I'm not saying it was like a spook light or any of those like weird like ghost light type phenomenon, because it didn't behave like any of those things. I don't know what it was.
The armchair cryptozoologists are going to be, letting us know that that's a fire. That's a lantern.
I don't know what the figures were around the base of it. And people are going to go, well, you should have gone forward to it.
I tried, but then I was taken.
No, we're not going forward to it. So, if it means that us not going forward to it means that this never gets solved, then guess what? It never gets solved.
Yeah. Probably not a good idea to run towards it, but I don't know what it is.
Well, next time we'll have our GPS up and tracking. And yeah, we got out of the car to go check out a new spot real quick. You know what I'm saying? And we just went, hey, let's go check it out and look. We weren't going but a mile into the woods. We were going to follow that old road bed.
Yeah.
We should have taken our packs with us. But
I had my pack with me.
But I didn't have my pack with the GPS running on it. So
no. Because you and I carry different equipment in our packs.
So
but I had my
pack even with that GPS running on it, with us not ever being in that area of the woods before, I don't think I still would have gone towards it. I'm just not going to go towards it. And if we don't know that area, if we have to like move quickly in one direction, it's gonna be it's just not the right thing to do in that area. Like I said, again, it's the images around it, the figures around it is what gave me the most.
So William Kennedy threw something out there. Light used to display image on side of a house hooked up to a battery solar generator. Could that be possible?
What's it reflecting off of? It's in the middle of the air. It's not hitting the side of anything. It's in the middle of the air. And then
so you guys will see, we go back the next morning or the next day, and there's nothing up there in terms of like, there's nothing for it to bounce off of or anything like that.
We thought maybe we were going, because you're trying to like disprove anything. There's a mountain range like right there, but we're in the mountains. So we were going, could have been the moon. And I'm going, no, because the mountains are right there. The moon didn't drop down in between the mountains. I don't know what it was. But it goes up. When we're hiking out, I've got the camera, and you can kind of see it on the upper left-hand corner, and you hear one of us at one point go, "It's gotten higher."
Yeah.
Or it was higher than it was, or something like that. And then we lost it. It was gone. It was just completely gone, and we didn't know where the figures were at the bottom. We didn't know what the figures were at the bottom.
Yeah.
Or where they were, if they left with it, if they were still running around. So we went back the next day. I mean, but we're going to go back out this weekend and scout that area around in more detail during the daytime.
And then probably work on setting up our experiments that we're going to be doing. And then we're going to investigate that entire area pretty intensely over a long period of time.
Yeah, but our goal for this weekend is what we're going to do is we're going to map the area out a little bit more, kind of like get a feel for the surrounding area a bit more. See if we see any other evidence during the light of day. Then we're going to take 2 EM pumps, and I'm going to take 2 940 infrared beacons, and we're going to put those there. And we're going to move to the next hill and observe the area. We're going to take our psionics night vision camera.
Yeah.
We're going to take the full spectrum camera, and we're going to take a thermal, because as cold as it is, any heat should show up really well on that thermal.
Yeah.
And we're going to move off.
Well, that thing showed up just bam.
Yeah. So we're going to move off and see if we can pick something up from it. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be the goal this weekend, to see if we can pick anything. And we may never see anything again in that area, but that area that we've in, that overall area, there are spots that have recurring activity in it.
Yes. Okay. For sure.
We have never, there's not a single spot in that particular area where we've only had one thing happen. Mm-hmm. So if that follows suit, then we may not see anything this weekend. Mm-hmm. But if we keep going into that area, we're going to have something else happen. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
The Fighting Cockerel, Tottenham Lurking, says you guys should come over here to the UK, maybe make a weekend out of it. There's plenty going on over here. I've seen different things I can't explain just outside of London. There's a lot of stuff going on in the UK.
We get emails from people in the UK all the time.
And there's a lot of stuff going on over there. A lot. It's surprising, actually. Yeah. The big black cat, that black cat phenomenon, black dogs. Mm-hmm. One of the things we want to do is eventually do a show to see what sort of parallels are between the Dogman phenomenon and then the traditional black dog, like the shuck phenomenon in Great Britain, if there's any parallels between the two. Because a lot of times the black dog phenomenon takes place in graveyards, graveyard guardians, they would kill a dog and bury it in the graveyards. So they're seen around graveyards. Dogman's seen around graveyards. There might be a parallel between there. But there's a lot of really weird stuff going on in the British, the British Isles. It's just weird. So you would think that somewhere that's so relatively small and fairly densely populated, but there's a lot of stuff going on there. So
Jay Myers says, won't the cold drain the batteries faster in your equipment? Yes, it will. That's why we have backup batteries for everything. And we are going to bring our extra battery charger. We have a Jackery. We're going to be bringing that. And then we'll have extra batteries for everything. But we're going to probably burn through some batteries in the cold. So, but we're definitely going to bring a bunch of extra. So with my camera, I have 2 battery sticks that I have it connected to. Otherwise, my GoPros, I would be changing out batteries constantly, especially in that cold weather, because those GoPros will eat batteries like crazy. So we got these 2 battery charging sticks that we attach the GoPro to on the top, and we can just constantly be charging, so we don't have to stop and change out batteries, so that we can actually adhere to our policy of always be filming. So we always have the camera going and don't have to stop and change out batteries. But yeah, we're definitely going to have everything ready. What are you looking for?
Just going to pull out our, just keep going.
Okay. Sam Burton says, I lived in the UK for about 20 years and there's no limit to the weird stuff there. It's a very ancient and strange place. It is a dark and bloody ground as well. So there's lots of things that have happened on that patch of land over the years. And there's so many legends and histories there. You've got all the Fae legend and everything up there too. So it's definitely an odd place. What is the cemetery? Highgate? That has the Highgate vampire? Yeah. I'd like to go check that out for sure. AJ Bates says Alistair Crowley, Zep Black Dog. You hit the camera there, son.
Are we still centered?
We're still centered, yeah.
So
Yeah, we just had a small earthquake.
Small earthquake.
William Kennedy suggests Zippo hand warmer placed in battery bag to keep the batteries warm. I saw a jacket the other day that has a special chest pocket that like keeps your cell phone warm, so your cell phone battery doesn't go down completely. But it's like a special chest pocket that you store your phone in, so that the cold doesn't sap the batteries.
So we always talk about certain areas where we have battery drains on the equipment and trying to combat that. So what we do is...
this is what I was talking about.
Yeah, I'll show a little bit about this just because the question...
Sorry, I'm yawning. That's so rude.
So for our GoPros and then our night vision camera, like the little full spectrum camera, these are two, because these are two separate things here. Each one of these are 10,000 milliamp hour battery backups. So we had one of them before, and then when we went to station 16 in the LBL and all of our equipment drained out, we were able to keep one camera running because we had it hooked up to this one. Well, it drained this one down to next to nothing.
Yeah.
So now what we do is we have two that are attached. And what we can do is if we start hitting battery drain, we can basically move to the second one at that point. One of these generally is enough for us to film all day and all night with. So having two, if we get into an area where there's a lot of equipment drain, the two of them should be able to keep us kind of going at least for a little while at that point. Now, one of the things we always talk about is if you ever have anybody talk about how they do field research, they do everything like that, the way you can kind of tell whether they're telling you the truth or not is how do they keep their stuff powered? So we have two of these actually. One is mostly focused on solar rechargers. So battery banks that have solar screens, and then this is our standard one that we usually keep. But we literally have a box of
RAV power battery banks. And what we do, I have a system that I came up with where I label all of them and I do like power for it. So each one is labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we go through them. That way we don't accidentally grab one that we've already drained at that point. So if you're switching out from 2, you grab 3, you don't grab 1. That way, and I do that with my batteries too for my cameras. Everything's labeled. That way, when I'm quickly switching out, I can switch it out.
So we've got 5 of these 32,000 milliamp hour ones. That is a 20,000 one. This is a 20,000 one. This is a 10,000 one that I keep in my chest rig. That if I'm running a chest rig camera, I can power that off of. And then here's a smaller, like I think this is like a 5 or 6500 that I keep as just a backup, just in case everything else goes out. But generally, when we're
then we have solar charger battery banks as well.
Yeah, but we carry like a ton of these.
And we get these from RAV Power, but they're very, very good. They're heavy. That's part of the pain though, is they're like little bricks, but they're heavy. So we carry them out with us, and then we leave some at the vehicle. But yeah, I mean, like our batteries are gonna get sapped like crazy. It's gonna be frigid this weekend.
The thing is that as we've had this battery power drainage, we've started to. It sometimes feels like we're fighting the phenomenon with tech and we're chasing the phenomenon with tech. But that's one of the things we've done is we've gone really heavy on these to try to keep equipment running in the field sometimes with this. So we're working on a couple different ways to kind of use these. We're going to maybe put them in like the little mesh parts of your backpack where you usually keep a water bottle out, and then run a power cord out and hopefully power the equipment as we're using it if you have to. So, but that's just, somebody had mentioned that. We've built that up over a while, and we've got the ability, and most of that is because we've got a couple of expeditions planned where we're going to be out for
days,
and it's to be able to keep stuff charged out in the field when you don't have the opportunity to come back in and charge everything over, the next day. So just figured some people might get a kick out of that. So
good night, Cryptid Response. Cryptid Response is heading off.
We're probably only going for a little while longer.
Yeah, so I think everybody's a little tired. It's the holiday season.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a good holiday while we're at it.
We were out and about a little bit today. I hope everybody got their Christmas shopping done. That's probably got everybody stressed out.
David Kuntz asked, what are your thoughts on the Slender Man? I don't know. I just other than I'm not as familiar with it as possibly a lot of people should be. Are you?
I'm not super familiar with it. I know it was like a creepypasta thing, but it's very similar to a lot of other legends.
Well, I've heard that too, but I don't know what other legends it's similar to. That's one of the things is that and it might very well be because no matter how well versed you are on some of this stuff, there's stuff out there that you've never heard of.
Yeah. There's the Slender Man, the Rake. Aren't these all kind of similar?
Now the Rake has got all right. Well, the Rake is the pale crawler thing has got a lot of parallels to it. That I know because like that has some parallels with like the Moon-eyed people, the Dover Demon, the Hopkinsville Goblins.
Slender Man reminds me of. All right, here's our weekly Phantasm reference. Slender Man reminds me of
the Tall Man.
The Tall Man, yeah.
So, but it might be if there is a kind of like tulpa effect to this stuff, where just the actual the intent or the belief strengthens this stuff. Then yeah, I mean there were a lot of people talking about Slender Man for a while.
Well, there were like kids stabbing each other
over Slender Man. Yeah.
Basically sacrifices to. Well, you know what? A Slender Man could be the embodiment or how a demon is presenting itself. If it's getting children to sacrifice each other to it, it could be just the appearance or what the form that some demon is taking.
Coach Griner, hello. My half brother and his friends back in the 70s hauled a moving lantern through the woods 75 yards from it. It ended at a grave. Colonel Burby is what the headstones read. Crazy. I thought when we first saw this, until I got a better vantage on it, I thought it was maybe a lantern at first. And you even hear me say there might be people there. I think there's people there. And I thought it was like a lantern with maybe people around it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, the lantern's not really illuminating anything. It's a bright light, but it should have that whole area lit up. We should have seen light coming through the trees. We should have seen trees lit up around it. The figures that were around it were slightly lit up, whatever part of them was facing towards it. And since we were on the other side of it, you could just kind of see it from like the side a little bit. And then when it kind of looks like it changed shape and then it wasn't a lantern and it wasn't a campfire. I don't think it was a drone.
The size of it, no,
it's not a drone.
No.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't giving off any sound. It was giving off heat. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but you do hear those things or those phantom lanterns like that. So
phantom lanterns. Don't follow the lights. Jay Myers says Slender Man is just a crackhead. So case solved.
It might very well be. So
mystery solved.
You guys have the Wendigo or crawlers, man. They freak the life out of me. The Wendigo is weird because the Wendigo, that's something that obviously got kind of into like popular culture there for a while. And one of the best things I had on it was that the Wendigo is like basically two different phenomena that are connected as one. There's the spiritual possession, basically Wendigo psychosis, where it's someone who has been possessed by the spirit of a Wendigo.
Yeah.
But over time, they become to embody the physical cryptid that you'd call, or the physical entity that you would call the Wendigo. And I know that's generally, obviously that's up with the far north of us. But we've had people contact us with real thin, real tall, elongated creatures before.
Yeah.
That we talked about on last week's podcast. One guy that we had something that he claimed it moved like a crackhead, talking about crackheads because it was very jerky. It would move very quickly, but then it would stop and it had very jerky kind of spastic motions.
Well, you think about what we saw in the LBL, that dark black figure that we saw in the LBL, it had these long arms.
It had too many joints, it looked like, for each thing. And
it was insanely unnatural, and it was blacker than black.
And it didn't look like it should move as quick because it looked like it should be clumsy.
Yeah.
It looked like it was like an awkward creature, but it moved very, and at least the one I saw moved the branches when it went through.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was for such a split second. I don't know. Now the crawlers, there are a lot of, I always like kind of equate those to like those pale subterranean creatures that people will claim to see. And there's a lot of stuff like that in these mountains.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's lots of stories from that. I think you've mentioned the Moon-eyed people several times.
Yeah.
There's
the Moon-eyed people
history when it comes to pale subterranean dwelling humanoids or inhumanoids.
There's a parallel that could be made to alien grays about that.
Oh,
hairless, large eyes,
same
pale
description.
Skin,
yes.
So yeah. Katie says that Slender Man lives in Tulsa. She means Tulpa. So she corrected herself.
Lives in Tulsa. Oh gosh. COVID's fake. Darn, never got a notification. Great shows. Love the deep dives. People don't know about the workings and how it's connected to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned in our last dark dive the workings of Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley and how it's part of a larger working that is possibly leading to what we're dealing with disclosure and possibly aliens coming from another dimension, and it possibly being through these workings that they opened up a portal and then it's part of a larger working.
And what's weird is that we started looking into that because we were looking at government factions that were either for or against disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that always fascinated me, and we've mentioned about this on previous podcasts, is people in the government who thought that belief or attention being paid to the phenomenon made it stronger, made it more prevalent, and that's what they didn't want. So maybe they were covering it up, but they had good reasons to cover it up. And then so we got into this, and like I said, I'd never heard of the Collins Elite before. I'll admit it. I'd heard of factions, but I'd never heard the term Collins Elite. And now we see it, like it seems like so many people are talking about it now.
Yeah.
We kind of came into it from the side, though. We stumbled across it, researching similar stuff. But yeah, it's just weird. It's there definitely seems to be with that message that came out Thursday, but airborne garbage, there seems to be factions within the government that are fighting for control of the message. So, and it seems that if it was covering up Chinese drones, you wouldn't see that conflict, you know? So you might see differing messages, but you wouldn't see that kind of
back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
the Fighting Cockerel says, yeah, CERN certainly doesn't help. You should watch the opening ceremony or ritual when they first opened it in Switzerland. Bunch of freaks. We've mentioned that before, that they said that, oh, that was just a joke when that started going viral, that video of that. There was like nobody else around. It was just a bunch of scientists pretending to do a human sacrifice by...
And oh no, just keep going.
Okay. I thought you were looking up that. Yep. So they're pretending to do a human sacrifice out there. Is that how they get their rocks off? I think it's definitely strange. You notice that once they turn the LHC on, that everything starts to get a little weird. We all start to have Mandela effect things pop up. We've discussed several of those before. We were in a store today, and of course, I went and looked at the BB guns. Of course, Crossman is CROS single SMAN. So, and then the Chick-fil-A thing, it's just so weird. It's every time they turn that on, there's always these little strange things that we kind of pick up and see that have changed, and that's the Mandela effect.
Well, the other thing too, to go into that, is people go, well, you're just misremembering. And I go, marketers, especially marketers who work for large international corporations, are really good at their jobs as far as putting in those little mind worms in you. You know what I'm saying? And think how often you get like jingles stuck in your head for like businesses. But then you're going to misremember the name of a business that you've seen around for decades.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem. But anyway, somebody had gotten in touch with us talking about how the CERN thing was just completely ridiculous. And that there were other facilities in the world who did similar stuff. So it wasn't just CERN. And they brought up, I just completely phased on the name, the Oak Ridge thing in Tennessee, because they have a collider there, like on a smaller scale. And I'm going, okay. And then I'm going, wait, there's all sorts of reports around Oak Ridge. You know what I'm saying? That part of Tennessee is insanely active.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
We drive through there every time we go to the LBL. Yes, we drive past there. We ought to see, do you want to go take like a tour of the facility? Or I know they do like little tour things. We ought to do that. I just kind of want to like see kind of around there. I know we can't go see the real freaky stuff, but I'd like to go check that out.
Rogers Davis says the Collins family name is part of the Black Venetian families, the Illuminati. Actually, the Fourth Watch guys did a documentary on the Collins Elite. What are they? The brothers?
The Fall Brothers.
The Fall Brothers. And he actually even talks about how, the Collins, there's apparently a Collins family that's tied in with the Illuminati, but this apparently didn't have anything to do with them that they knew of. but I didn't know that about the Collins and the Illuminati. I'm not that well versed on the Illuminati as far as so.
Teresa Wilkins says, your last dark dive was excellent. I listened to it once and had my son listen with me a second time. We both enjoyed it very much. Thank you guys. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, and Merry Christmas to all of our hellbenders. We appreciate you guys watching the show tonight. I know everybody's so beat from this holiday season.
We'll probably wrap it up
already.
in a few minutes. If anybody's got anything they want to bring up on
if you guys
chat,
want to talk about anything, go ahead and throw it in the chat so we can talk about that, because we're not, I don't think we're going to go we've been going like 3 hours on these.
3.5 some nights. I think we'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes. So.
We'll probably wrap up at about 10:30. Just because we went out to a big dinner and
we're running out of steam.
We are running out of steam. I know we've got a whole work week ahead of us too. So, and I am an older woman.
You are an older woman, so
as an older woman now.
Scott Yeager, LBL episodes are awesome. Hope you guys stay safe out there. I need a bigger flashlight. Like to see you guys at Skinwalker sometimes. Yeah, Skinwalker would be great. That the access to that's so limited. So limited, and especially now that they're doing that TV show. I don't even know how you would go about getting access to that.
Good night, Katie.
Good night, Katie.
Well, and they've got so many eyes on Skinwalker Ranch right now. I'm sure the security is absolutely insane, more than it was before.
If we could, if what we would be able to add to the investigation out there. So we try to focus on, like I said, we actually had some stuff lined up that we pulled off of to focus on North Georgia.
Well, our North Georgia spot almost seems like its own Skinwalker Ranch in a way. It's a large swath of land that there is such a variety of phenomena occurring. There's like parallels. There's so many parallels to it. Like they saw that big wolf that they shot at. It was a large wolf that looks like it just walked up and they looked at it. They thought it was like the size of like what they described as like a dire wolf. And it walked up and it attacked one of the calves, and then they shot at it several times and it never fell down. We saw that very strange wolf where we are. We've seen what could be portals. Again, same thing as Skinwalker Ranch. We've heard booms. We've heard booms.
We've seen
prints. Strange prints. We've seen strange lights.
You had the disembodied eyes behind you that we caught on the night.
We've had physical effects occur to us. Physical and mental effects occur to us.
Had those lights that seemed like they came out of the ground behind you that time.
There is just a lot of parallels between the area that we've been researching and Skinwalker Ranch that I think we've got our hands full right now.
And somebody had said, "Wow, you guys are catching a lot up there." And I went, "You know what? But when you look at it, when you look at the time that we've invested, when you go, all right, this area has been supposedly active since Native Americans would talk about how active this area was, and that we're out there so often." For years now, we haven't really gotten that much at all. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, when you sit and just talk about it, like on a show like this, it sounds like a lot, but think how many weeks and months we've gone by with like literally not anything at all.
And you can you can check out our channel that I think our first North Georgia video is from 2 years ago, but we've just been doing this for 2 years there, but that's our main research area. We'll take trips to the LBL every few months. As of right now, we've been going to the LBL every few months, and we'll stay there for a few days and do investigations there and do a series there. But that's our main area. We're there every week. We are in this location that we've been researching every single week. So what we've gotten there is actually surprising. We've gotten as much as we have, but we've had a lot of times where we've gotten nothing. But the strange happenings have been going on in that area since the Cherokee were there. They have legends of fire-breathing demons inhabiting those mountains and snatching people. So it's a phenomenon that's been going on for a very, very long time. And we're just lucky enough to capture some of it and put it on the channel and share that with you guys. So, but I honestly think there's a lot of parallels to Skinwalker Ranch and where we're going and where we've been
I think that's because there's other window areas that are spread across the country.
Yeah.
I think that Kentucky contains a lot of those areas. I think that the area that we're looking into is probably one. There's different areas in the world, but I just think that obviously Skinwalker Ranch is the one that has had the most official investigation on it.
Yeah.
So that's going to obviously dominate the discussion. But I just think that, that there's other areas out there.
And I think my theory about the geological disturbances really kind of feeds into that too. That you've got areas where the ground has been disturbed, whether by natural forces, say earthquakes, tectonic plates moving, something like that, or by man-made forces, by people mining. And then there's been mining around Skinwalker Ranch. There's been mining in the area we've been. That we are researching in a very mountainous area.
There's that old asbestos mine that's around through there.
There's copper mines, there's asbestos mines, there's a couple other mines that are dotted throughout those mountains. So the ground has been disturbed. Also, it's mountainous, so by natural means as well. And there's a lot of really strange stuff that's going on there. And when you think about Skinwalker Ranch, the Utes talk about skinwalkers and black magic and all that going on in the vicinity of Skinwalker Ranch. Where we go, there is occult activity going on to this day. So it's just, there's a lot of really strange parallels. And I think that kind of adds to the evidence that these window areas are magnets for this kind of activity, and they're magnets for these kind of people.
Are they magnets, or is it does reality thin a little bit, and is it going on everywhere, but you're just able to see it?
Yeah, that's the area where
better through there,
where the other, whatever it is, can kind of come and go as it pleases or show itself.
All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. Hey, everybody out there, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yep.
We will be out in the woods Christmas Eve. That's like we talked about. That's going to be an area that traditionally has some paranormal stuff going on with it. We'll be out there that night into Christmas Day, and then we'll probably do our regular live stream that Monday.
Yeah.
As always, we're catching up with emails. So if you have emailed us and it's been a while and you haven't heard a response, feel free to email me back.
Yeah.
Just in case it's been overlooked for whatever reason. Email her, email me. We both handle the email account. She handles most of social media. If you're trying to hit me up on social media, I don't really use it a lot. So I'll have things that sit in Messenger sometimes for weeks without seeing them. So, but anyway, you guys all have a happy holiday, and we will be back Monday night.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will have some interesting stuff from our outing this weekend. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we will definitely have that. Make sure before you guys go that you hit the like button. And when we post this, throw a comment down below. Help us get up in that tricky old algorithm. Just make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure your notifications are on. That way you know when new Hellbent Holler videos are coming. You can follow me on Instagram at HellbentJessie. I should be posting there more. But that's a little window into my world, and it's my private little Instagram that I do. But I post everything for the channel there, so you can get updates through there. You can follow me on Facebook, Jessie Lee. And you can always check out hellbentholler.com. And of course, this YouTube channel will have everything on there. And take a look at our community page. We do post when we're doing stuff on the community page on the YouTube channel. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful Christmas. Y'all be safe. Spend some time with your families. Enjoy yourselves. Eat as much food as possible. And we're going to start the new year right when it comes around in a few days. But we're going to head out into the woods shortly, and hopefully we get some wild and wacky stuff to show you. But thank you guys for joining us here on our Monday night live stream. We really appreciate and we love you guys. And Hellbenders forever, of course.
Flashing up gang signs.
Hey guys, we got our Hellbenders forever, Hellbenders. So, Joe, you got anything else?
I got nothing. So
okay, guys, we're gonna let the chat run for a little bit. I know you guys want to say Merry Christmas and goodbye to everybody else, but Merry Christmas and goodbye to you all. And let's go eat some cookies.
Yes. Night, guys.